Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. It looks like it's about 7:04 p.m. With that, please rise. We'll have a quick prayer and say Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, as we gather today for the Planning Commission meeting, we humbly ask for your guidance and wisdom in our deliberations. Grant us discernment to see the needs of the community clearly and the foresight to make decisions that promote responsible development while honoring the character of our county. May our discussions be respectful, thoughtful, and focused on the greater good. Help us to listen attentively to all perspectives, weigh options with fairness, and ultimately choose what is best for the future of our community. We thank you for your presence with us and ask that you bless our work here today. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. I got one over here.
Oh, you got it.
Can we get a roll call?
Kevin Kirkwood,
Present.
Robert Politic,
Here.
Van Sands, Dee Dee Schott Grace, John Gresham, Nicole Hunt, Kyle DiNardo, Dan McAllen, Diana Edstrom.
Here.
Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Very quickly, please, everybody do me a favor and turn off your cell phones, put them on silent. We have a fairly large audience today, so we want to make sure that we are quiet and respectful for those speaking. And also, we will not tolerate any distractions to those folks that are speaking, including the XL team as they are speaking as well. Keep that in mind as we move forward. Staff report. Do we have a staff report?
Good evening, Chairman. Just one quick update. Since your last meeting, the Stonewall Bed and Breakfast SUR was heard and approved by the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. Do we have any citizens' comments? And citizens' comments are literally those things that are not related to the matter at hand tonight. So if you want to talk about XL, don't come up now. But if you want to talk about anything else related to this county, please feel free to take a trip up to the microphone. Please state your name and address, and we'll hear you. 3 minutes, by the way.
Okay. Oh, this is short. Hi, I'm Sue Willard. I live at 13250 County Road 154, Kiowa, Colorado, for about 30 years and officially been in the county for over 50. I would like to thank the Planning Commission for listening to the residents that live within 5 miles of the proposed solar farm on the Kiowa-Bennett Road and County Road 154, and for following the Elbert County zoning regulations, Article 3, Section 5, Special Use Review Criteria A through H in particular. You were bombarded with over 2,500 pages of information on a mega utility industrial project proposal only 5 days before you had to make a decision that affects the lives and livelihood of many. You were specifically concerned about A, the use being in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood, as well as other items including the burden on traffic, existing roads, sanitation, water for the septic system, adequately landscaped and buffered, and not detrimental to the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. You exhibited true concern and care for the area of Elbert County that this project will be built and the neighborhood it affects. I have to believe that you felt as gut-punched as we did with the decision of the Board of County Commissioners. Being a longtime Elbert County resident, it's hard to watch the county go from rural to suburban. The Kiowa-Bennett Road being turned into a utility thoroughfare despite the families that chose years ago to build their places near and off this road. Again, thank you all for your time, effort, and careful consideration in review of the thousands of pages of information you were given on that project. Thanks.
Would anybody else like to speak? With that, I'd like to close citizens' comments. And we have approval of the meeting minutes from the May 6th meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review, look through? Any comments? Go ahead, Diana.
Diana Edstrom, could you take a look at, sorry, way too many pieces of paper here, on the vote for the bed and breakfast. You had down here under my no vote, zoning regulations, it says auxiliary dwelling unit. It should be accessory dwelling unit. And also, on the previous page, there were comments on there for both myself and Ms. Hunt requesting staff to present approximate frequency of events. I don't think I spoke on that.
Is your proposal to strike that from the meeting minutes?
That frequency thing.
I think I spoke on it.
Yeah. Nicole definitely spoke on it. And that's,
Thank you. I'll make the notes.
okay. That's it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Then I'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 6, 2025. As amended with Diana's comments.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing that, the meeting agenda is approved. And with that, I'd like to open up the public hearing process. Please note that this is a quasi-judicial function. This group is here to look at the matter at hand, the XL Power Pathway SUR and 1041, Major 1041. We are here to judge the merits of the case and whether the case has met the criteria associated with the SUR and the Major 1041. Our job is to look at those elements and make sure that they fit the community, fit the county, fit the plans that we have in place. And please note that that's what we do. At the end of this, we will make a recommendation. That recommendation will either be to approve with mitigation, or deny. And we will carry that forward carefully and with due thought. That being said, Stephanie, I believe you're going to lead the opening statement as the staff.
Okay, good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Stephanie Blahoviak, and I am a certified planner, land use planner. And I work for SWCA Environmental Consultants. SWCA was hired by Elbert County and is contracted with Elbert County to complete the review for the Excel Colorado Power Pathway 1041 permit and SUR permit that you are making a decision on this evening. The applicant is Excel Energy on behalf of the Public Service Company of Colorado. This is Piesco, Excel, and/or the applicant throughout this presentation. Excel is requesting approval of the major 1041 permit and special use by review, or SUR, applications for site selection and construction of a major utility service facility of a public utility for part of the Segment 5 route of the Excel Colorado Power Pathway, or pathway, proposed in Elbert County. The application is for 48 miles of new 345 kilovolt double circuit electric transmission line and all temporary construction areas needed to complete the construction of facilities proposed in unincorporated Elbert County. That's the project. The project location and land use approval is determined by Elbert County and through easement negotiations with landowners. A few updates before we get into the project location and a few of the details. The referral comment period closed on May 22nd, and the applicant provided responses to comments May 27th. May 27th was also the day that the staff reports were due for the packet and posting. So the referral comments, responses from the applicant were not reviewed at that time. The information, though, has been reviewed since then and is updated in this presentation for you today. The project location is starting in northwest Elbert County at County Road 194 and County Road 129, traveling south to Kiowa, southeast along Colorado Highway 86, and then south to approximately Simla. The size is linear miles, about 48 miles. The zones, zoning districts, primarily agriculture A, as well as residential agriculture RA, residential agriculture 1, RA1, and portions of the economic development zone, EDZ. The approximate footprint is about 310 acres of temporary disturbance and about 97 acres of permanent disturbance. This figure is provided by staff and gives an overview of the project location. You can see here, this is the proposed project route that the Planning Commission is looking at today and making a decision on based on application materials submitted by the applicant. You can also see in this figure existing infrastructure, including fire stations. There's a few fire stations to the north. The closest are in Kiowa and Simla. You can also see existing substations here. For orientation, I wanted to point out as well, in this purple region here is going to be our Kiowa Fire Protection District, or FPD. And then we have down here our Big Sandy Fire Protection District. The line is proposed primarily in those districts. There is a very small portion down here that is in the Tri-County Fire Protection District. That's the sort of bright green color down there. This figure is showing the project location and zoning. You can see that it is primarily zoned A, or agriculture. The economic development zones are primarily located along highway roads, and so where the line is proposed to cross, there's a few locations where it crosses the EDZ. For more orientation and context, the project location and school districts, we have Kiowa School District here and Big Sandy School District down here. And then at the very end, this small portion in Elbert County, Miami Yoder School District. The land cover is primarily herbaceous vegetation, mostly native grasses, shortgrass prairie, cultivated crops, as well as some shrubland. The weather and climate is on average wind speed 7 to 10 miles per hour, annual precipitation 15 to 20 inches per year. Surrounding land use, primarily working agricultural and rural residential agricultural land uses. The visual landscape includes primarily agricultural and residential facilities, as well as rural roadways and rolling hills of grasslands and shrublands. The proposed project route is located within 1,320 feet of 6 existing subdivisions as measured from the edge of the 150 feet right-of-way. These photos are representative photos courtesy of Google 2024 to show the visual context and just the setting that we're talking about today. This is Kiowa Bennett Road looking approximately north. Kiowa Bennett Road looking south. Colorado Highway 86 looking approximately northwest. Colorado Highway 86 looking southeast. And Highway 24 and Shelton Road looking east. The proposed project is for the construction, operation, and maintenance of 48 miles of new 345 kilovolt double circuit electric transmission line across approximately 275 new steel pole structures. A single pole would be used for most transmission pole locations, and 2 transmission poles will be required in certain locations. Each transmission pole would be placed on a concrete foundation, and the transmission poles will be weathered steel and brown or rust color. Typical pole height is between 105 and 140 feet. The anticipated right-of-way needed is 150 feet total width, or 75 feet on either side of the transmission line corridor center line, and the span length between poles is typically 950 feet. This is a typical transmission pole configuration provided by the applicant in the application narrative. The applicant is also proposing temporary construction areas, or TCAs, and these would be used during project construction to stage construction equipment and materials, including construction trailers, cranes, and transmission poles. Some TCAs may require grading to level out the area for equipment placement and materials storage. At the end of each construction phase, equipment would then be removed from the TCAs solely used for that construction phase, and there are no proposed improvements at the TCAs that would be permanent, and the remaining areas will be restored in a manner generally similar to pre-construction conditions. This is from the application. Construction contractors may utilize temporary concrete batch plants in the TCAs during construction and to produce concrete needed for transmission pole and substation foundations. Concrete batch plants typically consist of various equipment and materials needed to make concrete, for example, mixers, batchers, conveyors, stackers, bins, heaters, chillers, silos, controls, and dust collectors. Typical examples of temporary or mobile concrete batch plants are shown here, just as an illustrative tool to understand what that might look like in those TCAs. In the application, it's mentioned that where road improvements are needed, the applicant would acquire necessary grading, stormwater, and erosion control permits and comply with those permit requirements. If access cannot be contained within the 150 feet electric transmission line easement, the applicant would acquire permanent or temporary access easements where access routes traverse private property. Some access easements could remain post-construction to maintain access to transmission lines for proposed project operation and maintenance activities. Some background on this project. The Colorado Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC, in June 2022 provided written approval of the Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, or CPCN, for this proposed project. Elbert County completed 3 rounds of completeness review of the permit application materials. The Excel Project 1041 and SUR applications have not been deemed complete by Elbert County. However, Excel has chosen to proceed with the incomplete applications to public hearing. The proposed project is within the Kiowa Fire Protection District, Big Sandy FPD, and Tri-County FPD, all of which are volunteer fire protection districts. The applicant has not submitted signed fire prevention and safety agreement forms from Kiowa FPD or Big Sandy FPD. And the Elbert County Zoning Regulations, or ECZR, Article 2B, Table of Submittal Documents, Number 11, Proof of Fire Protection, ECZR, Article 2B, General Requirements 1, ECZR, Article 2H, General Considerations for Every Application 2, are cited as the codes requiring that. The submittal of the proof of fire protection allows for review of potential project impacts on public safety services, including fire suppression, law enforcement, and emergency medical response, both during project construction and operations and maintenance. Per Elbert County Office of Emergency Management, or OEM, the fire prevention and safety agreement form must be executed and submitted as part of the formal SUR application and to confirm compliance with fire district requirements. Proof of fire protection is required documentation for the SUR process per ECZR Article 2B, Table of Submittal Documents Number 11, Proof of Fire Protection. In addition, the county can require additional documents not listed in the 2B Table of Submittal Documents, and this is ECZR Article 2B1 and ECZR Article 2H2. The Elbert County Zoning Regulations, Article 17, revised September 14, 2022, otherwise known as County 1041 regulations, are applied in addition to all other Elbert County regulations. Proof of fire protection allows for the review of the existing capacity of and demand for local government services, including the emergency services, and potential effect of the project on the demand for local government services and the capability of local governments to provide services and how those potential impacts will be overcome. This is the County 1041 Regulations F, relationship to other regulations. County 1041 Regulations J, application process 15, and local government services. The project timeline: the determination of major 1041 level of review was made on August 9, 2023. The pre-application meeting was held July 25th, 2023, and the applicant completed community meetings in 2023 on October 10 and October 18. The initial application submittal was completed November 7th of 2024. The first completeness review for the 1041 was completed December 30th, 2024, and for the SUR, January 30th, 2025. The second completeness review for both applications, the 1041 and SUR, was March 19th, 2025, and the third completeness review for both applications was completed April 10th, 2025. The referral period was from April 1st to May 22nd of this year. Although the applications were not and are not deemed complete at this time, staff initiated the referral process to provide as much information as possible to Elbert County decision makers in the event that the applicant would request to proceed to public hearing with incomplete applications. Per applicant request, staff sent comments to the applicant on a rolling basis and weekly during the referral period. A quick summary of the community meetings that were held on October 10th, 2023. The application materials report this was in Simla, and there were approximately 105 attendees. The October 18, 2023 community meeting was in Kiowa with approximately 279 attendees. And then the applicant held meetings with potentially impacted landowners on April 24th, 2024 in Elizabeth, and June 12th, 2024 in Kiowa. During the community meetings, the concerns and questions raised included impact on property values, visual impacts from the project, health and safety concerns, renewables development, agricultural operations disruption, route location, and why the route was not continued further east of Simla, who the project benefits, Front Range populations versus Elbert County, feeling as though they're not being heard, undergrounding of transmission lines, construction, traffic impacts, wildlife impacts, environmental impacts, fire risk safety mitigation concerns, and noise impacts. During the referral period with agencies, no response was received from the following list of agencies. I will not read these off unless you would like me to. Okay.
Oh, that was a no, a hard no.
Okay. Comments provided and no additional comments from these agencies are listed here. I will note the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is included here, and Colorado Department of Transportation, as well as Colorado Parks and Wildlife. The applicant has been in touch with those agencies. Comments that have been acknowledged and addressed since the staff report was included in the packet and to the Planning Commission include the Agate Conservation District and Kiowa Conservation District. There are some comments outstanding from referral agencies at this time that have not been acknowledged or addressed to date by the applicant. This could be no response, or it could be staff not knowing what the resolution is or status of with the commenter, the commenting agency. For the Natural Resource Conservation Service, or NRCS, this has to do with a comment regarding crossing a wetland reserve program easement along Colorado Highway 86. The Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, or CDPHE, there are some unresolved comments about the Air Quality Control Commission and QCC regulations. There was no response from the applicant included in the response documents sent from the applicant. There are unresolved comments from Elbert County regarding the proof of fire protection. The applicant has acknowledged these comments, and the comments remain unresolved at this time. The Elbert County Public Works Department, there are outstanding comments regarding details informing the development of the road use agreement and the development agreement. The applicant did meet with Elbert County Public Works and the county attorney on May 20th, 2025. Comments remain unresolved at this time. The Big Sandy Fire Protection District / Simla Fire, there are unresolved comments regarding transmission line fires, welding permits during construction activities, fire behavior, locations of wildfire detection cameras on poles, and other topics. The applicant acknowledged and responded to comments. However, the resolution status with the agency is not known. This is the same for the Kiowa Fire Protection District. Core Electric, there seem to be unresolved comments regarding transmission line easements and encroachments. The applicant did acknowledge these comments and met with Core on May 20th, 2025. The resolution status with the commenting agency commenter from Core is not understood by staff at this time. And then the Kiowa School District, there are unresolved comments regarding project proposed proximity to schools and health hazards and threat of fire. And there was no response from the applicant in the response document sent. The applicant did complete a visual analysis. This is required as part of the standards in the County 1041 regulations. This was also a concern heard many times at the community meetings. This is included in the attachment D of the Project 1041 application. This is an example of a representative transmission line photo provided by the applicant in that visual analysis. The visual analysis has KOPs, or key observation points, that the applicant took photos from to prepare the visual analysis. You can see here KOP 1 starts up at the northwest corner, if you will, of the proposed route. KOP 4, KOP 7, KOP 3, 2, KOP 8. And then as we travel southeast, there's KOP 5, KOP 6, KOP 9, and then KOP 10. In the visual analysis, there are before, existing conditions and then simulated condition. In this presentation, the staff included the KOPs for the simulated conditions. This KOP 1 is at County Line Road, and you can see in this diagram here, the view that it's looking. It also says here viewing direction is southwest. This is the simulated condition showing in the distance here what the proposed infrastructure might look like for a viewer from the public right-of-way. KOP 2 is from County Road 134. The view is southwest, again showing what this might look like in a simulated condition. KOP 3 from County Road 134 is viewing west. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, it's this background here would be the proposed new line. KOP 4 at Kiowa Bennett Road is viewing, the view is northwest. This would be the new proposed line. KOP 5 is at Colorado Highway 86, and the view is west, showing what the new infrastructure might look like from the public right-of-way. KOP 6 from Highway 24, the view is east, and it would be this line back here proposed. KOP 7 is at Kiowa and view looking southeast. KOP 8 is at Highway 86, looking west. This is the simulated condition here. KOP 9 at Simla. The view is southwest. and the line is, the simulated condition is here. KOP 10 is at Kendrick Road, and the view is northeast, with the line shown here. Excel did complete a routing and siting study. This is included in the Project 1041 application attachment E, and this was part of the CPUC process. This is the segment 5 area they're showing here as part of the overall analysis area. Specifically, the segment 5 CPCN study area is shown here with this dotted line from Harvest Mile substation to Tundra substation. There was a study area expansion in the fall of 2021. That is this blue dashed line here. During the completeness review process there and during the community meetings and subject matter expert review, there were questions and comments made regarding fire risk mitigation and response. The applicant did respond with a project wildfire mitigation plan and provided a copy of the state wildfire mitigation plan that is under review or being updated currently with the Colorado PUC. Elbert County has unresolved comments on proof of fire protection, and the request was made for proof of fire protection by submitting the signed fire prevention and safety agreement forms and a description of all the coordination efforts completed to date with Elbert County emergency responders, fire district personnel, and the work plan between local fire departments and the applicant should an emergency situation arise during project construction activities or during the project operations and maintenance. And the code citations of that request are included here. I won't read them out. Unresolved comments from Elbert County OEM. First, a statement: Elbert County strongly supports the inclusion of fire mitigation technologies such as weather stations and cameras for the project. These tools will enhance real-time monitoring and improve emergency response capabilities. Elbert County requests that the applicant provide the following, and this was in the original December completeness review comment document. A commitment to install and maintain weather monitoring stations along the transmission line route to support wildfire prediction and prevention efforts. A commitment to install N5 sensors throughout the transmission lines. A detailed plan for deploying AI-based fire detection cameras to identify and report fire activity quickly. Proof of vegetation management commitments, including timelines and methods for weed control, mowing, and other wildfire mitigation techniques. And Excel needs to maintain the area under and around the power lines with regular mowing services, wildland fire mitigation techniques, and weed control to reduce growth and fire risks. A statement of willingness to update Excel's plans based on new technologies or evolving fire risks to ensure long-term safety and effectiveness, and locations of the wildfire detection cameras on poles identified for the project. In the project wildfire mitigation plan submitted by the applicant, there is an Elbert County wildfire burn probability map, and this is a zoom in of the legend for that map. This is information from the Colorado Forest Atlas 2022 data that is online. In the map, you can see the proposed transmission route. You can see the proposed laydown yard areas in this sort of dashed light orange color here. And then you'll see that there's a probability from lowest, which is this lighter, almost white color, to the highest probability in red. This is the overall map, but we're going to zoom in a little closer. So if we start at the top left, near the Harvest Mile substation, we've got high probability here with the darker colors. So we travel east. You can see one of the temporary construction areas here. TCA proposed this location. And then traveling south-southeast, the colors change and become a little lighter, suggesting a lower probability based on the Colorado Forest Atlas data. Traveling closer to Kiowa, you can see the colors become a little lighter as well. There is another TCA proposed here. And then traveling down to Simla. Continuing south. And then following down to the southern portion of the proposed route and another TCA proposed here. Some of the information requested during the completeness review process was a request for more detailed, higher level of detail for analysis of risk and to inform the mitigation or not for wildfire, whether through cameras or weather stations, et cetera. That information has not been received to the level that staff requested and preferred. We have prepared some additional information that was also pulled from online data and the Colorado Forest Atlas and just publicly available data. This is showing the project location and fire response time. You can see green is 5 minutes, yellow is 10 minutes, and red is 15 minutes. Presumably beyond that is either no data or higher response times. I'm not sure. It's not my area of expertise. I apologize there, but just illustrative of the rural nature of some of the area that the line is traveling through. It also shows, again, the fire stations locations for existing fire stations. Figure 5 shows the project location and fire occurrence density. The density is fires per square mile, is the data that is shown here, with the red darker areas being the higher number of fires per square mile. Part of what can be helpful in assessing the context and potential risk in an area is there's this Scott and Bergen fire behavior fuel model. A lot of I don't know what happened there. The fuel is part of what goes into the potential for wildfire in an area. You can see it here. It's mostly these GR numbers, which is grasslands and or shrubland. This figure shows the ignition history for the past 10 years with undetermined, unknown in purple, human caused ignition here in orange, and then natural, just to give an idea of, potentially what's can happen out there, currently might happen. These could be from natural, lightning strikes, or it could be human caused, like maybe a cigarette or a vehicle with not enough clearance driving over grasses and the heat sparking something, or a vehicle along the roadway. So a spark could also start that. One of the comments that was made along the way was that the probability map is based on a methodology and data, but it doesn't necessarily show the whole story. And part of assessing wildfire risk is the behavior and anticipated. What might be the behavior if something did occur, and the rate of spread. And the rate of spread is shown here from this scale. It goes up to greater than 60 chains per hour. This is the metric that the fire folks use. A chain is approximately 66 feet, I believe. So that's an estimate of 66 feet per hour are chains. And so you can see as you move south-southeast, it actually, the burn probability map shows maybe potentially decreasing, but the rate of spread estimate actually increases from south to southeast with this darker orange going into the 12 to 40 chains per hour and 40 to 60 chains per hour. The approval criteria for the 1041 application, staff has found that the applicant addressed the standard A for Article 17M, obtaining necessary property rights, right-of-way easements, and permits. B, protecting water quality and supply. The applicant has addressed this criterion. Staff has found that the applicant has not met the C for no significant risk from natural hazards. The applicant has not submitted the requested level of detail of information for proof of fire protection or risks associated with fire behavior and the risk analysis. And there are unresolved comments from the fire protection districts and Elbert County related to those items and what the risks might be. Criteria D, general conformity with master plans. Staff found that the applicant has addressed this. For E, no significant adverse effect on local services or capacity of delivery systems. Staff has found not adequately addressed for this criterion. Again, for the level of detail for the proof of fire protection and the signed agreement forms, it's not clear what the potential project impacts might be on Elbert County public safety services, fire prevention, response, suppression, and emergency medical response for during construction and during operations and maintenance. Staff found that the principles of sustainability, resource conservation, energy efficiency, and recycling and reuse, this was addressed. That the project will not degrade the environment, this has been addressed, and will not negatively impact high priority habitat. Staff found this criterion as addressed. I will not cause a nuisance as defined by code. This has been addressed. Will not degrade areas of paleontological, historic, or archaeological importance. This has been addressed. Necessary to meet development and population demands. This has been addressed by the applicant. And will not result in unreasonable risk of release of hazardous materials. This has been addressed by the applicant. For the approval criteria in 17M2, this says that the project would not create financial burden on the county. Staff has found this is not adequately addressed. The applicant has not submitted the requested level of detail for that proof of fire protection or the risks associated with fire behavior and the risk analysis, and to determine if the proposed project would create an undue financial burden on existing or future residents of the county to address fire prevention, response, and suppression activities within and adjacent to the proposed project. Criteria B, the project is technically and financially capable. The applicant has addressed this. The applicant has expertise and financial capability to develop and operate the project. This has been addressed. Will not degrade any sector of the local economy. This has been addressed. Will not degrade quality or quantity of recreational opportunities. This has been addressed. For criterion F, benefits outweigh losses. Staff has found this is not adequately addressed. It's not clear if the proposed project benefits to Elbert County outweigh the potential fire risks associated with the proposed project and potential financial impact to fire prevention, response, and suppression activities of fire districts within and adjacent to the proposed project. Criterion G, this is the most suitable solution available based on need, location, technology, cost, impact, and regulations. The applicant has addressed this. And then the additional criteria, M4, preserves desirable patterns of traffic, aesthetic, and landscape, residential and commercial development, commerce, and industry. Staff found that this has been addressed by the applicant. And B, avoids conflicts with local, state, and regional master plans. This has been addressed. For the SUR, the approval criteria of ECZR Article 3E5A, it's compatible with the surrounding area. Staff found that this has been addressed. For criterion B, will not burden infrastructure. Staff found this is not adequately addressed. It's not clear if the project would have undue burden on the available firefighting and emergency response infrastructure during construction and operations and maintenance. And the applicant has not submitted the analysis of existing firefighting infrastructure or estimated fire risk and behavior analysis that would inform the potential mitigation or lack of mitigation technology. Criterion C, will not increase traffic congestion or burden the road system. We found this as not adequately addressed. Elbert County Public Works has outstanding and unresolved comments, and a road use agreement and development agreement are required and in the preliminary stages. Upon a project approval, should that occur, a condition could be that all necessary executed agreements be completed prior to the start of construction. Criterion D for the SUR, approval criteria will not cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. The staff found this not adequately addressed. Although review by subject matter experts shows that it's not anticipated that the project would result in significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution beyond an acceptable level per county regulations, there is the outstanding unresolved comment from the CDPHE on the air quality regulations, and the applicant has yet to provide the formal response to comments from this agency. For criterion E, the sanitation requirements will be met. This has been addressed. F, the use will be landscaped, buffered, and screened. This has been addressed by the applicant. Criterion G, that will not be detrimental to health, safety, or welfare of Elbert County residents. The applicant supplied the SUR application and narrative and many attachments. We have still found that this is not adequately addressed, and we're looking for that proof of fire protection in the form of the signed forms and understanding of discussions to date and cooperation to date with the fire districts. The analysis of fire behavior, risk, and prevention, and more understanding of that analysis of existing firefighting infrastructure and estimated fire risk from behavior. And resolving those comments with Big Sandy Fire Protection District and Kiowa Fire Protection District. For criterion H, the supplemental standards, staff found that these have been met. They have been addressed by the applicant. Based on review of the application materials, review by applicable Elbert County departments and outside agencies, and consideration of the approval criteria, staff recommends the Planning Commission make a recommendation of denial for the Excel Colorado Power Pathway Major 1041 Permit Application 1041-2024-9235. And also, based on review of the application materials, review by applicable Elbert County departments and outside agencies, and consideration of the approval criteria, staff recommends the Planning Commission make a recommendation of denial for the Excel Colorado Power Pathway Special Use by Review SUR application, SUR-2024-9236. The applicant is here with a presentation and subject matter experts to answer questions. Staff is also available to answer questions. This concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate that. Applicant, would you like to present? And please do us a favor and introduce your entire team when you do this so that we know who's playing and who's doing what. Thank you.
Make sure the clicker works from over here. Maybe. There we go. Well, good evening. Thank you for having us here this evening. Thank you, Planning Commission and staff for your thoughtful presentation here. I'll kind of go into our portion of the presentation here this evening, and then also to your request here, kind of go through some of the representatives that we have here for Excel Energy from subject matter expert, and also the two presenters here this evening. So I'll start with introductions. My name is Andrew Holder. I'm the Director of Community Relations and Local Government Affairs here for Excel Energy Colorado. I am joined here as a co-presenter here this evening with Jen Chester. She is our Senior Manager over Siting and Land Rights. Here at our table here, we also have Julie Stencil, who is with our internal legal team. I have Delaney Salvage here as well. She is a Siting and Land Rights Manager. And I also have Patrick Kursick, he's our Senior Director over Wildfire Mitigation, Strategic Planning and Organization. I'm joined here by a number of different colleagues here behind me as well. We can introduce them as they come up to speak or answer any questions. We have external lawyers that are here with us. We also have a number of our project managers with us as well. Additionally, we have some of our staff support from Tetra Tech that has been helping us with some of the application requests that we've been going through. And then we also have several other SMEs in regards to specific questions that you guys might have this evening.
Andrew, if you don't mind, go ahead and just quickly name and what they do to the team. I know it's not easy, but please.
No, you're good. We brought a large conglomerate tonight, so I appreciate your guys' patience here today. I got Brendan Deagle here this evening. He's our Regional Vice President over our transmission services here today. I also have Parker Warzak. He's our Senior Engineer over our transmission project planning team. Let's see. I don't know if you can see them. Why don't you have them stand up? Yep.
Parker Warzak, Transmission Engineering Manager for Excel.
Brandon Deagle, Regional Vice President, Transmission for Colorado. Stefan Grenier, the Pathway Construction Manager with Excel.
Sasha Archie, I'm the project manager.
I'm sure the folks on the phone can't hear, so if we continue no, don't hand the mic off. Just go ahead and continue the introductions, have them stand. I think that will help.
Thank you. Yeah, Heather Brickley, our Senior Project Director. We got Amber Deedis, who's with she's our Senior Director over Project Management. I also mentioned, I forget your gentleman's name. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm Tom Hamilton. I am a subject matter expert.
Perfect. And then we're also joined with a couple of our security advisors, but I also have Stephanie Pippin with our consulting services. We also have Taylor here this evening with us. And then we also have Sarah Kellner. Thank you. She's with our external legal team. Should have had a roster with me. Apologize for that.
No worries. Next time. Thank you.
You bet. So I just want to cover what we're going to cover on the agenda here this evening. I'm going to cover who Excel Energy is. We're going to touch on the overall Colorado Power Pathway project. I'm going to turn it over to my co-presenter to talk about some of the county-specific project information, and then we're here to answer any questions that you guys may have. So who Excel Energy is. Here you can see on this presentation slide, we serve 1.5 million electric customers here in the state of Colorado, 1.4 million natural gas customers, and then I want to highlight that last pillar there, which is we have a 99.9% electric reliability rating. That's, we really pride ourselves in regards to that third pillar. When our customers hit their light switch when they get home from a long day of work, they expect their lights to turn on. We are able to deliver that at 99.9% of the time. Additionally, I want to just kind of cover some of the things that we've been able to do specifically here in Elbert County from a county engagement and partnership. We've been proud partners with the Elbert County Fair for the previous 2 years and look forward to continuing that partnership here in 2025. I'd also be remiss if I didn't highlight the partnership we were able to do here at Elbert County with the Wranglers, where we were able to secure a Connex for some equipment storage that they have, and we're going to continue to find partnerships here at the local level as we continue to serve and partner here with the community here in Elbert County. So getting here why we're all here this evening, which is the Colorado Pathways Project. If you can look out the right side of this slide, there's a map that illustrates the proposed route here for the Colorado Pathways Project, starting up north in our segment 1, which starts up in Weld County, working its way southeast through a number of jurisdictions, coming here as we work our way west here into segment 5. This is a $1.7 billion investment for a double circuit 345 kilovolt transmission line. This is the largest transmission line we supply and build here in the state of Colorado. This is 550 miles divided by 5 segments like I covered. And this is what it generally does is this increases our system reliability, which is why I highlighted that third pillar in that first slide. Is this enhances our system reliability. If we lose one of our transmission segments, we have the capability of being able to route electricity around the state north and south and east and west to ensure our electric grid here in the state of Colorado is secure. We've already kind of covered in regards to kind of where we're at in regards to the construction project. You can kind of see some of the in-service dates based on some of those pop-ups. But we do have 386 of the 550 miles of the Colorado Pathways Project permitted in 9 different counties and 10 different jurisdictions. And segments 2 and 3 have been completed and constructed. And we are working our way through segment 1 in construction right now, which is in Weld County. The Pathway Project, it's going to support economic vitality, not only for our state, but it will also deliver significant economic development opportunities here in our rural communities across the eastern and southern Colorado. The project construction will require substantial amounts of contract labor while also providing local jurisdictions and host communities with additional tax revenues and potential employment opportunities. The expected long-term benefits include tax payments to the 12 counties that will be crossed by the transmission line over the lifespan of this project. Just for background and the Planning Commission's edification, utilities such as Excel are valued or appraised under a method known as unitary valuation, which is performed by the state of Colorado through the Division of Property Taxation. Once the state establishes Xcel Energy's values of its assets, it then allocates that value to each county where Xcel Energy owns property. For example, here in Xcel Energy in 2023 paid a little over $2 million to Elbert County in property taxes for the existing infrastructure that we have in the county. After construction of the Colorado Pathway Project in Elbert County, Xcel will pay an additional taxes on the valuation of our new facilities. This amount is estimated to be approximately 1.26% of the installed cost of the Pathway Project. This is also in addition to the $2.5 million of the impact fee that we are anticipating for the project itself. Your planning staff did a great job kind of covering some of the articles that we included in our application process, which included an Elbert County specific wildfire mitigation plan. This provides both a plan for addressing fire protection coverage in the project area, as well as Xcel Energy's construction and operation wildfire mitigation plans for the Pathway Project in the county. Xcel Energy acquires a significant amount or a sufficient width of easement area around its facilities to safely maintain the area consistent with federal and industry standards. The Pathways Project will be a new facility, which means it is going to be up to date with new safety standards, which will be built with fire-hardened infrastructure and will be inspected on a regular cadence. This last slide has a lot of numbers, but I wanted to just highlight a couple of different things. I think here in Elbert County in specific, we've done 12 different public meetings, 5 of those virtual town halls, 7 in-person open houses here in Elbert County. We've had over 671 in-person open house attendees, and we've also received 278 public comments from constituents here in Elbert County on this project. We did mention the 2 in-person community meetings to suffice the application request, but we also have ensured that we have heard from the community by bringing out some of our senior leadership. I know Sandra Johnson, our Senior Vice President of Transmission, also Robert Kinney, our operating company president, has been out here to landowner meetings to hear specifically from the residents here in Elbert County to ensure that they feel heard, adequately heard, and ensuring that we continue to partner with the community here in Elbert County to get this project rolling. So with that, I will turn it over to Jen Chester here to cover some more of the Colorado Pathways specific projects.
Do that so I can talk with my hands a little bit as we move forward with the presentation. That was the last slide Andrew was presenting, but I have several more to share with you this evening and speak through. Starting with the routing and siting process for the project, we began in 2021 with the development of our study areas, 20 miles wide at that time, connecting the substation endpoints. So for segment 5, that's Harvest Mile to the north in Arapahoe County, Tundra and Sandstone to the south in Pueblo County, 20 miles wide between those locations, and that is what was initially filed with the PUC and our CPCN. Within those 20-mile wide study areas, we gathered data from a number of sources. We field verified information, categorized that information based on its compatibility with construction and operation of a transmission line. And then we drew preliminary transmission line route alternatives within that study area based on a suitability analysis, and narrowed that to share with the public through those virtual and in-person open houses that Andrew shared. We started those in the summer of 2021 with the initial project introduction. We hosted virtual routing sessions in fall of 2021, as well as began our in-person open houses at that time. Within those study areas, we continued that evaluation of those links by comparing them and evaluating, eliminating links that had greater impact to resources that we identified, or change them based on public feedback. This is detailed in our 100-page routing study that staff mentioned was included in our application filing for both the 1041 and then in response to comments on the special use review. In segment 5 specifically, we had a unique situation in terms of that evaluation that I described based on the evolution of the study area, the focus area, and some additional areas that we reviewed. Staff touched on this in their presentation, and then this slide shows further evolution of that study area over time and in coordination and communication through the public stakeholder process and engagement process that we had. The picture on the left-hand side of this slide is the original 20-mile wide study areas that connected the two substations to the north and south that I mentioned for segment 5. We then narrowed that 20-mile wide area to what was called a focus area, shown in the second column on that particular slide, where we identified preliminary transmission line options within that. Subsequent to that narrowing, we then further expanded our study area again to include areas in the hatching in that third column. Those additional areas were to the west and to the northeast and a little bit to the east. We continued to add and change the evaluation area as we move to the right on this slide to the next 3 columns, further removing area to the west, primarily related to a number of concerns, including Air Force Academy training areas, and then other development concerns in that area. We added and reviewed an additional area to the east, known as the Eastern Review Area, which is in that next to last column, ultimately landing with the preferred route that is in the applications in front of Elbert County currently, as well as the other jurisdictions in segment 5. In that routing analysis, we evaluated over 1,200 miles of route options in segment 5. Over 500 of those miles were specifically in Elbert County, so nearly half. We evaluated 4,000 square miles of study area in total in that evolution. 1,500 square miles of those were in Elbert County. As was shown in the staff presentation, the project would be built primarily with steel monopole transmission structures, as shown on the right-hand side of this slide. At turning points in the line, we would have 2-pole transmission structures, but those would be less frequent. Also, as discussed in the earlier presentation, the poles are estimated to be typically 105 to 140 feet in height. They'll be placed in typically 150-foot wide right-of-way, 75 feet on either side of that center line or the pole. Roughly and nearly 1,000 feet between spans, 950 being typical. Also, as mentioned, the poles will be weathering steel, so they'll be brown or turn brown or rust color over time. We do and are required to design and maintain all clearances as required by the National Electric Safety Code, so our lines are designed to meet those various requirements. The staff presentation showed a number of simulations. We have a selection of those on this slide as well here. Kiowa Bennett Road view in the upper left, County Road 134 in the upper right, a view from near Kiowa in the lower left, and also another view from Highway 86 in the lower right. As previously described, we submitted to Elbert County a 1041 and a special use review permit application, which included 48 miles of new 345 kilovolt double circuit electric transmission in Elbert County. Staff described the zoning districts within which that line is proposed to be placed, including the temporary construction areas that will be required to support the construction of pathway. As mentioned previously, also pathway will be constructed in segments, not only segments 1 through 5, but segment 5 itself will be sequenced in construction. Generally, the segment 5 route in Elbert County enters from the north at the Arapahoe County line, west of Kiowa Bennett Road, proceeds south towards Kiowa, where it follows Highway 86 for 13 and a half miles, and then proceeds southeast towards Simla in a stair-step pattern. The route then exits Elbert County, going through El Paso County, re-entering Elbert County in the far southwestern corner. That route then proceeds south through Elbert County for 3.5 miles before exiting south into Lincoln and El Paso. As I mentioned, we began public outreach and the routing evaluation in 2021. In the years since then, we have held over 46 public meetings total in routing the pathway transmission line. 5 of those in person, 5 of those virtual, and 9 in person in Elbert County. In total, we held 20 in-person public meetings in segment 5. Again, additional information regarding that routing study is described in the analysis provided in our applications. A few things that factored into our analysis and routing considerations, specifically in Elbert County, are outlined on the left-hand side of this slide and depicted in the map on the right. Those include existing linear infrastructure. That includes an existing core transmission line, which we are proposing to be adjacent to for a number of miles south from the Arapahoe County line. That includes also Highway 86. We evaluated the location of existing homes, existing land use patterns, location of the proposed route in jurisdictions adjacent and connected to Elbert County, so Arapahoe County to the north and El Paso and Lincoln to the south. We also had to consider located in Elbert County existing wind turbines and associated electric transmission infrastructure in and around those wind generation areas, as well as construction for access for construction of the line and ongoing maintenance. The proposed route selected in Elbert County has the highest percentage, nearly 70% of co-location with existing linear infrastructure, transmission lines, roads, pipelines, and as such is the least impactful compared to other route alternatives evaluated. The schedule, as briefly mentioned by Andrew in his presentation for the project, is shown on the right-hand side here, specific for Pathway as a whole. Construction on segments 2 and 3 in eastern Colorado began in 2023, and those 2 segments of line, as well as the associated 3 substations, were just recently placed in service. Construction of segment 1, which totals 90 miles in Morgan and Weld County, is also under construction. That was started last year and is anticipated to be completed in 2026. Segment 4 along the southern portion of the project, which is located in Kiowa, Crowley, and Pueblo counties, is also beginning construction currently. We have received the majority of the land use permits as shown on the map in Andrew's portion of the presentation, which includes approvals in Weld, Morgan, Washington, Kit Carson, Cheyenne, Kiowa, Crowley, Pueblo, Lincoln, and the city of Aurora. 3 of those jurisdictions are located along segment 5. The next number of slides, I'll move through fairly quickly. I won't read necessarily each of them, but as noted in staff presentation, but also as related to our application, we submit an application that we believe is compliant with the 1041 approval criteria, as demonstrated on not only this slide, but moving through the next number of slides here. In addition, we have the special use review application approval criteria. As described in staff presentation, a number of referral agency comments were provided to Elbert County and to Xcel Energy as well. We did submit in our response document responses to the referral comments noted. I wanted to specifically point out that our response document did include comments and responses regarding a number of unresolved comments noted by staff. So wanted to make sure that we're referencing those as we talk about the project and whether we were responsive or not. Specifically, the National Resource Conservation Service response is on page 42 of our letter. The Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment response did not specifically request a response. However, we would note that our discussion of any permitting required with CDPHE is explained in pages 69 to 70 of our 1041 application. We included responses on the Elbert County Public Works Department comments on page 36 of our referral document. In addition, it was noted that we met with that agency, and as it relates to the road use agreement and development agreement, as discussed in that meeting, those were not required to be completed and drafted for this hearing, and they are in progress. Response to Big Sandy Fire District comments are on pages 4 through 12 of our response letter. We responded to Core Electric comments on pages 12 through 23 of our response letter, in addition to responding by email. And we responded to Kiowa School District comments on pages 43 and 44 of our response letter. Happy to discuss any of those in more detail related to the comment response on any of those agencies specifically, or to address questions regarding the wildfire items outlined. And that would conclude our presentation today.
Thank you, appreciate that. At this point, we are just about to start the public comment section. And with that being said, we probably have a pretty full list. And I would like to go ahead and get the first few folks in. Please note that we will be giving each person 3 minutes to respond or to speak. Please use your time wisely. 3 minutes goes fast, but we got a lot of people, and we got a lot of people that are going to make comments. So when you hear your name called, please stand up, come to the podium, state your name, your address, and then your 3 minutes starts. And in no uncertain order, because I've got several lists here, I'm going to go ahead and start with Mike Walker.
Mike Walker, I live in Elizabeth. This thing right here says a 5-minute time limit, and it was over here too. There's a couple of them right here that says 5 minutes.
It's at the chairman's discretion. And two things you need to understand.
Excuse me?
One, please state your name and your address, not Elizabeth.
Mike Walker, I live in Elizabeth. I'm not going to give my address. I don't want my dog shot. I don't want my horse poisoned.
I'm pretty sure that nobody's going to do that for
I'll
this
give it to
meeting.
you after the meeting.
Okay, you can certainly write it down for Wendy.
Okay, there we go. First thing I'm going to bring up is your first thing you brought up. I'm a little disgusted by it.
Please address the planning commission.
I'm a little.
not
Can you hear me?
The applicant.
Okay, I'm a little disgusted by what you said. How you support the Wranglers and Elbert County
Mike,
Fair.
Please focus up here.
I'm looking at something here.
I understand.
Okay.
Don't
You
address
want me to
the
look at you when
applicant.
I read this?
Please focus up here.
Okay. what that tells me that if this doesn't go your way, you're going to take away funding. That's what I take away from that. That had nothing to do with Excel's pathway or anything else. I'm shocked you even bring that up. This is something I got from the Colorado Sun. That is a digital newspaper. They actually are journalists, and they pride themselves on in-depth reporting. What they wrote here on May 30th, 2025. Excel operates in 8 states, including Colorado. Colorado is the highest earning state for the company, and it generated over 50% of Excel's revenue in January to March of 2025. If you do a little Google, the top CEOs of Excel, the CEO of Excel made $13 million last year. The Exeter VP made $4.5 million. I can just keep going down, but it's just amazing what they're paying people. Okay, that is all from the Sun. Some of the things here, Excel said the county will profit from lines going through Elbert County. I don't know who's going to profit, but I can tell you who will, Excel. I heard some talk about eminent domain. Is it for new roads? Is it for land for a hospital? Are they going to do a new high school? Maybe even a sheriff or something for the firefighters? No. It will be used for Excel to take land from Elbert County citizens who don't want to sell their property. And they're doing that so they can make more profit and sell electricity to Denver and the surrounding cities. I hope Core doesn't sign a contract with Excel, because if we bring up the Comanche,
Pardon me, Chair, that's 3
the
minutes.
Comanche thing, Excel couldn't supply the energy. They had to be sued for $24 million. From the Colorado Sun, Excel made $870 million in profit in 2024. And Excel says it costs too much to bury the lines. That's all I got.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. Next up, Sonny Mills. And yes, I finally pronounced your name right, Sonny.
Sonny Mills, 27310 Forest Ridge Drive. I have my U.S. Army Corps of Engineers patch on. I know a little bit. First, electricity flows into your house every day, but 345 kVA is called power, not electricity, because it is a vast amount of electricity in one cable, which is extremely heavy. Excel designed these cables 104 feet and more above ground on towers, designed to withstand winds of 95 miles per hour. Elbert County just had 2 tornadoes estimated at the high end of an EF2 tornado with 111 to 135 mile per hour winds. Let me say that again. On the upper end of the EF2 tornado was 135 mile per hour winds. During the bomb cyclone, one rancher located along the proposed power pathway route clocked wind speed at 120 miles per hour. In Houston, towers collapsed in 90 to 100 degree heat last year with 100 mile per hour winds. They were considered hurricane force winds that crumpled and toppled 10 of Houston's 100-foot tall transmission towers in their grid system, causing significant expensive damage, needing weeks of repair. Winds of 75 miles per hour or higher produce huge electromagnetic fields called EMFs, which spark on high-capacity lines. Birds that fly into the field become fireballs, falling into the dry vegetation below and outside of the easement area, causing fires. Fireballs, huge fireballs, have been seen traveling down these EMF lines, setting lower electric lines on fire and blowing up transformers that spark and spread fires at breakneck speed, as we are witnessing every year in North America. Once trees alight, a crown fire happens. When wind and the internal temperature is high, crown fires produce weather such as fire tornadoes. Embers can be carried for miles. We have many miles and ridges full of ponderosa trees. Should be red on their map, just like those in the Black Forest. only 1 mile away from the power pathway. There is a solution being used in Washington, D.C., Chicago, Illinois, with Champlain Hudson Power in New England, in Minnesota, and particularly in California after litigation almost bankrupted Pacific Gas and Electric Company from fires spread by high-capacity lines. Fort Collins, Colorado, has been burying 100% of power lines and electric lines since 2006 in a program that they call Bury the Wires. According to PG&E, undergrounding significantly reduces the risks of wildfires by
Pardon me,
removing
Chair?
power lines from vegetation. PG&E says it reduces wildfire risk overall by 99%. No EMFs are produced underground, and there is nothing to burn. In addition, underground lines are less susceptible to damage from extreme weather. So there are way fewer outages. Maintenance is
Sonny,
greatly
are you about
reduced.
to conclude here?
I'm sorry, I was told 5 minutes, so
No,
I
you were told
timed
3 minutes
myself.
at the beginning of this. It's a chairman's discretion, and so it
Okay.
is 3 minutes.
Oh, so what would you like me to do with all this information?
It's good information. I know that you've shared it, and please keep sharing it.
Keep sharing it?
Not in this forum, though. So we're going to go ahead and call the next person.
Oh, I only have 2 more minutes? Will somebody give me their 3 minutes? You'll give me...
We cannot share minutes, so
Why not?
that's not
Why
how
not?
we work.
You don't want to hear something that will tell you that you should bury the lines?
I heard you loud and clear already. Thank you.
How do you guys feel about that, commissioners? Are you okay with that? You're okay with him shutting down? And so
You
we
got
have to
3
listen to
minutes.
them
Your 3
ad
minutes are up.
nauseum, and their information is wrong.
Sonny, please step down. Thank you. I have 2 names on this next line, and so I'm apologizing up front. I have Peggy and Tim Patskarowski. Would you like to go one at a time, or would you like to go together? One at a time, then. No, it's not 6 minutes. I'm not sure.
My name is Peggy, and my husband is Tim Patskowski. We live at 950 County Road 133, down in the the lower L, as far as you can get. Okay, so as fiduciaries for the people of the Elbert County, the Planning Commission staff and commissioners have an obligation to move forward in the best interest for all county residents and deny the application for a 1041 permit and the SUR due to many negative factors, of which a few are the 1041 regulations revised on 9/14/2022, page 3, 4.5 states, for new transmission lines and wind energy generation facilities and turbine installations, existing easements shall be used to extend to the extent possible, and expansion of existing easements is preferable to acquiring new easements. There is no financial benefit to Elbert County, regardless of what they claim. Property values will decrease, which will cause a reduction of revenue for the county and the school and fire districts. The transmission line is a probable fire hazard, and you all have mentioned asking them to comply, I believe the word was, with the fire districts within the line. And I've heard you mention Kiowa and Simla, that they have complied with those, but there is no mention of Tri-County where we live, in the lower L. They weren't asked to comply with them, I guess. It will destroy the viewshed for many miles in all directions, destruction of natural vegetation, disruption of wildlife habitat, The constant buzz of the lines, which increases in volume with wind and/or any kind of moisture, eliminates the peace and the quiet of our little piece of heaven on the prairie. XL states the ownership of the land within the easement remains with the landowner, and the landowner can do nothing on the easement without XL's permission, and XL retains the right to do whatever they deem fit with the easement. For 2 years, 3 months, beginning in February of 2023, XL has been a total disruption of what used to be our peaceful life. Our physical, mental, and emotional health has deteriorated. It is our understanding that XL can proceed with pure procurement of the easement and construction by means of eminent domain,
Chair.
with or without county permits.
Pardon
Is
me,
this a
Chair.
fact?
Thank you, Peggy. Tim, would you like to speak?
I don't dare open my mouth in public because I would end up in jail before the night.
Okay, well, we want to avoid that. So I have Susan Knapp, I believe.
Hello, Commission. I'm Susan Knapp. I live at 11340 Copper Canyon Circle. We purchased our property 5 years ago before knowing some of this would be happening. And I must admit to you all, I sat on the Planning Commission in Arapahoe County for 17 years. So not saying that I remember a lot of it, but I had a few issues for Excel. First of all, when we say planning is health, safety, and general welfare, I'm not so sure that I understand this as being for the local welfare for our benefits. My second thing is that this is a totally rural community. When you talk about this high of lines, it doesn't feel like a rural. It's much more of a commercial extended feeling. I also know that I've worked with clients that have been so concerned about the EMFs. I actually was on the state board for American Cancer Society and my local cancer society. Even though we got some information saying the EMFs were not an issue, I can tell you I worked with a radiologist whose wife would have nowhere close to this kind of a project. Our home sits over here up on top of a hill where these will be very obvious. And along the lines, there's so many homeowners, not affecting a few people, we're affecting several homes along the route. Let me see if I had any other extensive use here. Most of us are with rural electric. My concern is down the road, if you've got Excel there, we had some things where if you've got a bigger surface, you sometimes are expected to go to that service and leave the rural. I want to be in a rural community. That's what I'm doing here. You also mentioned the referral agencies you had responded to. I don't know if they were given time for their actual responses to say if they really accepted the responses that you had given them at the time. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Carrie Giblets.
I think Carrie Giblets, 19656 Wiedemeyer Road, on the board of the Elbert County Environmental Alliance. And I think Jennifer has a PowerPoint she's going to show while several of us speak. As you know, ECEA has been opposed to this route from the start and has actively worked to have it changed for over 3.5 years. The staff did a great job, and they recommended, or they said, that the application has not been deemed complete by Elbert County. However, Excel has chosen to proceed with the incomplete applications to public hearing. What arrogance! Why are they willing to go ahead with an incomplete application? Most likely because they are planning to bulldoze through whatever Elbert County citizens and officials say and appeal any decision not in their favor to the Colorado Public Utilities Commission. They are just checking a box with this public hearing. The staff states it remains unclear specifically how the proposed project responded to Elbert County resident concerns related to, in particular, visual impact, health and safety, fire route location, and electrical line undergrounding. After attending all but one Xcel meeting, I can tell you how Xcel responded. It doesn't matter what you do, this is the route. We have been told this by every Xcel rep that we have met, including Xcel Colorado President Robert Kenney, who told us this route will be the route. They just checked a box by holding community open houses, not public meetings. Elbert County staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend denial of the project, and ECEA does as well. In your packet is a letter from ECEA outlining all the areas where we believe Xcel's high voltage power lines and towers do not meet the requirements set forth by Elbert County's 1041 regulations, regardless of how many boxes Xcel has checked. I'm not going to go through the whole letter that has been sent to you, but in the area of not having a significant adverse effect on the capability of local government to provide services, this pathway will have a negative impact on property values, which will affect the tax base for local services. There are concerns regarding emergency services operating Flight for Life, which is used frequently out here, and concern regarding aerial firefighting capabilities, which is also frequently used. The project has absolutely no benefit for Elbert County. All the power transmitted is for the Denver metro area and may be sold to other states. But it is definitely not necessary for community development and county population demands. The 1041 say that the project should not create undue financial burden. Well, it will cause the property values to decrease, which is a financial burden on county residents. There is an increased risk associated that the transmission lines may increase residents' insurance rates. And several residents have businesses that will be affected by the presence of these transmission towers.
Hi, Carrie. Can you go ahead and wrap up?
Pardon me? Yes. Okay. The rest is in my packet, but please hold Xcel up to our requirements and vote to deny approval. Elbert County is not a box to be checked off. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Giblets.
Eric Giblets, 19656 Wiedemeyer Road in Kiowa. This board has often spoken of the importance of landowners' rights, the ability of people to do what they want with their land. Xcel Energy disagrees with you. Not only will their power pathway take away Elbert County citizens' rights to use their land as we choose, they are forcibly taking our land from us. Even before you have had a chance to and the opportunity to vote on this project, Xcel is beginning eminent domain proceedings against Elbert County landowners. Xcel will tell you that 44% of the landowners have signed lease options with them. We tell you that that is because most of them cannot afford legal representation to oppose Xcel's use of force and eminent domain. I want you to understand this one. 56%, the majority of affected landowners, are emptying their savings and retirement accounts to fight Xcel's theft of their land. Xcel will tell you that once their monstrous towers are put in, the landowner can continue to use their land on the easement. We tell you this is not true. We lose our right to use the land in a way we choose. We cannot put a loafing shed for animals in the easement. We cannot build a caretaker's cottage in the easement. We cannot cultivate the easement. Xcel will tell you this project is for the benefit of the state. We will tell you this project is for lining Xcel's pockets. A May 9, 2023 report from the Independence Institute found more infrastructure a utility builds, the more profit it can earn as long as the PUC approves those investments. Under this system, utilities stand to benefit considerably from an energy transition that forces the closure of still useful power plants and encourages a major build out of brand new generation facilities and transmission lines. Yet, what benefit is there for Elbert County? None. Yet, look at what we stand to lose. We are asking to please protect the rights of Elbert County's landowners from this forcible taking of our land for Xcel's profits. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Just as a note, there's a lot of passion in the room. I appreciate the applause. I'm sure your speakers appreciate the applause, but it takes time. Don Gray, you're up. No jogging.
Don Gray, 16,000 Highway 86. First of all, I'd like to thank the CDS for their service to the county, and I'd also like to thank the Planning Commission for volunteering their service to the county. As many of you are aware, I'm on the board of the ECA. I have been speaking for the last 2 years about this preferred route that Excel has chosen for the Power Pathway project. To be clear, I'm not opposed to the project, but I am opposed to the preferred route. For these reasons, I would ask the Planning Commission to deny Excel's application. Because of possible litigation that I am facing, my attorney has advised me not to speak in a public forum about the specifics. Thank you for your time, and please do the right thing for Elbert County.
So, Deb Gray.
Deb Gray, 16,000 Highway 86. The XL Power Pathway project has determined that their preferred route be along Highway 86 for their high voltage transmission
Hey, Deb,
line.
can you move the microphone a little bit over so we can hear you a little better? Thank you.
Do you want me to start over?
Yeah, we'll give you your full 3
Okay.
minutes.
All right. XL's Power Pathway project has determined that their preferred route be along Highway 86 for their high voltage transmission line. This means their easement, power poles, and lines will be in very close proximity to our house. I want to be clear, I'm not opposed to their project, but I am opposed to the proposed route along Highway 86 instead of XL choosing the route further east. I cannot go into any further details based on the advice of our attorney. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Pam Struthers.
Pam Struthers, 33252 County Road 73. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. And I am opposed as well. I am tonight going to speak only to the safety issue. I would like to start off with talking about I'm sorry, I have to use this instead. I am talking about safety concerns related to the installation of the high transmission power lines and towers. I was a volunteer firefighter in Elbert County for 12 years. 5 of those years I was with Kiowa Fire Protection District as a firefighter, wildland certified. And in that time, I did have the opportunity to respond both to small and large wildland fires. I can say that my time at Kiowa, our resources were very limited, and those even small wildland fire attacks were difficult. The transmission lines and associated infrastructure, they do have the potential to ignite wildfires, especially during dry and windy conditions. The construction activity, maintenance, operations, and equipment malfunctions could further exacerbate these risks in areas with already high fire danger. The abundance of dead trees in this part of the county, a result of beetle infestations and drought that have killed many of our beautiful pines, exacerbates the risk of wildfires. The potential consequences of sparks from Excel transmission line in such an environment is great. The introduction of high voltage transmission towers may obstruct aerial firefighting operations and pose challenges for ground-based suppression efforts. Currently, the water supply for Kiowa Fire is a pond that is east of Kiowa that will be very near to the power line, the transmission line. And the second major water source is in the town of Kiowa. So aerial pull will come from that pond, which could potentially make it difficult. During my tenure with Kiowa Fire Department, I was involved in both small and large wildfires. Two of those fires were ignited by an electric fence touching grass and subsequently carried by wind, reaching over 500 in one fire and 1,000 acres in another. Both occurred in the Bijou Basin and required additional resources from other departments as well as numerous homeowners putting themselves at risk. Fire departments then and certainly today lack sufficient resources due to the growth of their districts and the dramatic decline in funding.
Pardon me, Chair.
Let's see, I just need to say that Kiowa Fire currently has 5 paid employees. They have 20 volunteers. They cover 324 square miles. They will cover all the way from the north to the south of the district. Very limited resources. They supply all their own training, and it will be very difficult with the resources that they have. And it appalls me that Excel does not have a very exclusive and very direct plan put into place for how they're going to address fire mitigation and education and funding to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Gabrielle Weimers, sorry if I mispronounced your name. You can come up.
Good evening. My name is Gabrielle Weimers. I'm living at 24905 State Highway 86. I'm right there where the south line is coming to 86 going west, right at the corner, up on the hill. So I have an environmental impact concern with all the transmission lines and towers. So I drew up a little thing, and I hope I can give you one. May I proceed to give you one, or somebody?
You can leave it with the desk after you're through speaking.
Okay, and it says Exhibit A shows the undisturbed view of a section on State Highway 86 between mileposts 38 and 37 going west. I noticed at all those pictures they showed, there are no cars on it. It's just some towers in the distance. But I wanted to show the impact when you drive down, how the towers are high up compared to cars they are approaching. So, and then the lower left is a 2-pole D-type tower location designed to 417-DE left, I guess, and 417-DE right. The exhibition B shows the anticipated transmission line design, and the exhibit C is the technical published information from Excel dated winter 2022, which is used as the basis for this transmission tower scaling in the picture. So you can see that. And I want you to put it on file, if it's possible.
Are you through speaking, though?
Pardon me?
Are you through speaking, though?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Can share it with Wendy. Reginald Weimers. No, he's not talking? Okay. with that, it's 9 o'clock. I would like us to take about a 10-minute break. So if you don't mind, one rule of thumb, please note that your planning commissioners up here are kind of off limits to speak to during this time because the session is open. Please avoid talking to your planning commissioners. Thank you. We'll come back at 9:10. Uh, 3535 County Road 141, if you're here.
Good evening. Randy signed up by accident. That's mine. I'll take the spot if I may. I've also signed up, and we'll save you 3 minutes.
Sure. And
Okay.
you are?
My name is Rick Orcutt. We live at 3535 County Road 141. The address is Rama. The property in question is about 1 mile straight north of the Elbert County line. We have been there. This property was homesteaded by my great-grandfather in 1906. We've been in the cattle business since that time, and this land is pristine. It is one they do not have to touch. They have constantly lied to us, misrepresented us, everything else. No offers have been made in good faith. The only offers we've got were complete jokes. We've never been contacted by an Excel representative, only a contractor. We've just been served eminent domain paperwork. We just dropped $5,000 that we really didn't have to drop in order to fight this. So in every step of the way, Excel has lied, concealed the truth, and just been complete impossibilities to deal with. So we are asking that you deny this and fight their transmission line at every step of the way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Roger Schultz.
Good evening. My name is Roger Schultz at 26162 County Road 122 in Rama. I too would like to ask the county commissioners to continue to deny and oppose this change to Elbert County. I'm a proud member of our county. I'm a proud member of our country, and grateful that we have the opportunity to speak in public forum like this. Eminent domain, also known as condemnation, is the power of the government to take property for public use, even if the owner doesn't want to sell. This power is established in the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which requires that just compensation be paid to the property owner. Just compensation typically means fair market value. My family and I, my wife and 6 kids, moved to Elbert County to enjoy the peaceful living that it offers, as well as the beautiful scenery. I'm a real estate broker by trade and own DreamWorks Real Estate, and I recently, 6 days ago on May 8th, received this email that I'd like to read. Good afternoon, Roger. My name is McKenna Johnson. Sarah Kellner CC'd to this email, and I are outside counsel for Excel Energy. If you have an attorney, please forward our contact information in this email to them. We are reaching out to you because Excel Energy has received DreamWorks Real Estate LLC's appraisal. Because of project timing and how far apart you and Excel Energy are in value, we need to move forward with filing a condemnation case. Sometime this week or early next week, a process server will deliver condemnation case proceedings to you. If you want to receive the pleadings earlier, feel free to reach out to us. No effort, no contact, no communication of any kind has been made to me or my family regarding the appraisal that was performed for DreamWorks Real Estate, my company. The appraisal was performed by Clayton and Associates, which is one of the most reputable eminent domain appraisal services in Colorado. It was a very thorough investigation on the effects of the Excel Power Pathway to my property specifically. That was never addressed. This is the only communication I've received. So rather than making an attempt at fair compensation as outlined by the Fifth Amendment of our Constitution, their next step is threatening me with condemnation proceedings, which isn't a right of a private corporation. It's the right of a government. Our fate, our future as property owners in Elbert County lies in your hands as our county commissioners, as our government. Please don't allow them to take our property for their profits. Thank you.
Jennifer, I think we're done with the video piece of this. Dave Johnson.
I'm Dave Johnson, and we have various business interests all the way from Agate clear through to Kiowa. And I remember
Dave, your address is what?
32481 Elbert Road. I remember 50 years ago coming up there and going to Fort Carson to serve this country, and seeing that sign had been there all this time, that when you come off of I-70 on 86, it's a scenic bypass to Colorado. And it's there. And that fact alone, with that power line paralleling Highway 86, will change the view forever. But my point is that because of some of the things that our family organization does, business, that I've studied extensively transmission and distribution lines throughout the country and through the world, actually. And this project is economically not viable. They have not discussed one item about the political climate in this country that we may not even need this power line, depending on how the development of green energy comes about. And then what are we as property owners going to do with a power line that really isn't needed, that affects our lives forever? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. James Williamson.
James Williamson, 41591 Way of Goodness. My previous comments regarding the fire concerns of the power line are on record. Many of those comments have been addressed and are reflected in your responses up there. But a couple of things have come up since I submitted those, and one being the fact that we appreciate your $2 million, but Xcel Energy cost the people of Marshall $2 billion.
Can you focus
because
on
of
speaking to us, please?
Because of Xcel Energy's power lines. Marshall outside of Boulder. So $2 million, yeah, that's nice. $2 billion, that's the real consequence. And in January, the Eaton fire in Southern California, well, that was caused by power lines. The one thing that I want to address, based on the previous gentleman's comments, is we know that Xcel Energy makes money when they spend money. They're guaranteed a profit on whatever they spend. And so what better way to make money than to build an entirely new energy infrastructure system? But they're finding out in France and Germany and Spain and New Orleans and in Texas that all of this green energy hoo-ha nonsense is BS. and it doesn't work. And it's not profitable, and it's not economical, and it will not provide the energy needs of a first world country. So we all know that a failing grade is less than 70%. So I would ask the county to put some kind of a proviso that if their little fantasy energy project fails to produce 70% of the energy they promise that they're going to produce, that they be required to rip it out, root and stock, 100%, so that we're not left with the rusting hulks of a monument to stupidity. Because it will. It'll sit there and it'll rot, and it won't be providing anything, like about half the solar arrays that are put in across the state and actually across the nation. If it doesn't do what they say it's going to do, then it needs to come out, just like an economically depleted coal mine. Once it reaches its economic depletion, it has to be reclaimed. And I think that Xcel Energy ought to be on the hook to reclaim anything that they disturb back to its natural state if it doesn't perform like they promise it will. Thank you.
Thank you. John Miranda.
My name is John Miranda. I live right here in Pine Meadows in Kiowa. And I listened to both your presentation on this particular project, and I also listened to all the people who came up to this podium and spoke their mind about how they feel about it. And it's only because we really care and love Elbert County. The thing I would like to say is that this whole project wouldn't even have to be happening right now if Xcel Energy would start thinking outside of the box and start looking at the future of what our power really needs are going to be for the future. And to me, this particular project is not the answer. And that's why I am surprised to say I haven't heard the word nuclear energy. I believe nuclear energy is the way for the future and the power needs for Denver and the surrounding communities, and especially now with the AI being more used, they're going to have the need for more electrical power. So right now as we speak, there's a plant in Utah that has a nuclear power plant that is quite successful. These Band-Aids that you're proposing to us with the transmission lines, to me, I find totally inefficient, because if you get this approved, you're just going to come back and ask for another line to come through because of the needs of the power consumption that is going to happen with the growth. I'm sure with all the studies and all the money that you spent for this particular project with the slides and graphs and all the staff, you should start thinking of nuclear energy. Even President Trump has endorsed power companies across the nation to start really getting into nuclear power. Now, my objections to transmission lines are just like all these other folks have said, but it's a Band-Aid. It's a total Band-Aid. Your green solar, you dig a 60-foot deep hole to put a 350-foot pole up. That's life expectancy is only 10 years. And how can you call it green when the material can't even be recycled and it has to be transported down to some big pit in Wyoming? Solar, to me, is strictly residential power.
Pardon me, Chair.
What's that mean?
It just means that you need to find a place to wrap and
Oh, well, I was just saying that the solar plant that they had in Bennett with the tornado coming in was completely wiped out, and it's useless. and the $1.9 million you're going to spend on these transmission lines could put forward to a nuclear power plant right next to that subdivision, and you don't have to ask any of these people about getting the rights for their property and just trash this whole project.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Pam Struthers. Oh. So you could have gotten lucky there. Sorry. Mark Kneid. I'm not sure how I pronounce that name, but correct me when you come up if you don't mind.
My name is Mark Kneip. I live at 17274 State Highway 86. I just want to, it'd be all right, give you an additional information on the fire procedures. And at that, I'm not allowed to discuss anything else per my attorney.
Thank you. Debbie Ulam. Yes, please.
My name is Debbie Ulam. I live at 11195 Copper Canyon. I took some notes during both the presentations, so I have a couple of questions that I think need to be addressed. When they did their rebuttal, they specifically stated that they did comments with Simplifier. What about Kiowa Fire and OEM? I'd like somebody to ask those questions. During their presentation, they said they have 99% when they flip the switch. Then they don't need this. Sorry, get out of Elbert County. I've spent 40 years over 40 in this county. I don't like to say my age, but we built 2 businesses in Elbert County, and I tell you what, we were never allowed to ignore the regulations or the referral comments when things were requested of us. We did it. I just finished a term of 10 years on the Kiowa Fire Board of Directors. Our staff is spread beyond thin. That purple area that you saw on that diagram is huge. I want to say Excel is trying to march through these countless volunteer districts. Our paid staff for Kiowa is 4, sometimes 6 if we're lucky. That's 2 on a shift at a time. That leaves 1 to drive the engine, 1 to drive the brush truck, and we pray to God nobody is on a medical call. That doesn't leave much. And we're saying they don't have to respond to Kiowa Fire's requests? This is not okay. And then, what if we have a Boulder fire or we have the Forest Ridge fire again? We're not equipped. We learned that when Forest Ridge fire happened. Please don't let this happen marching down Kiowa Bennett. Several of those roads off Kiowa Bennett, Indian Hills and Copper Canyon specifically, have 1 way in and 1 way out. 142, Serenity, they have 1 way in and 1 way out. That's seriously dangerous. Will we cut fences and go across pasture? 100%. But that doesn't make it any easier to get a fire truck there. I also want to tell you that as a realtor in this situation and a property owner, I review countless appraisals and property values. When I looked at this plan, it would range anywhere from 0 to 49% value change in someone's property. I abut this property. I didn't know that until the 4th community meeting I attended. Originally, it was almost a mile from my property. I still attended every meeting. As I looked at the plan on my phone, it said one thing on their website, and the map in front of me at the community meeting said another thing. I specifically asked at that time. They said they were still negotiating with a property owner they didn't know. I just really want you guys
3
to know
minutes.
I'll wrap it up for you. The other thing that's very important that you guys need to know is there are other financial constraints that are put on these people when these turbines, whether it's turbines or high voltage lines. HUD has specific guidelines that require appraisers must note in the comments the effects and marketability on any title or site hazards and nuisances, fall hazards, and there are even many situations that we've run into out east when they have high voltage, or wind turbines on their property, that the land's not financeable. I don't think anybody in this room deserves to learn that later because we let them march through Elbert County. Please protect our property.
Thank you. David Knapp.
David Knapp, 11340 Copper Canyon Circle. As a realtor, my concerns are the rural nature of the area and where it was originally planned. People knew that it could possibly happen with a planned urban development type of situation. So they knew that their values could be lower and they could purchase the properties at a lower value. But with them wanting to move it to other locations, it's going to affect many and many people that didn't think it was going to be close to their properties, where they paid higher prices for their property, but they're not going to get compensated or knew in advance that that was going to happen. One area of concern is rural area and rural feeling of the area. Anything you build, commercial or residential, they have a rule out here that you can't go more than 35 feet high. Well, there's a reason for that. You don't want to disturb the rural feeling of the area. Well, 100, 150 feet high towers definitely affects the rural feeling of the area. So that is a concern of mine. The other things that I was concerned about was all the notes of when they're doing the presentation of not addressed. I don't know how you can come to something of this kind of meeting and state many things that are not addressed, of things like benefit and loss, things like how does it affect our community, things like the cost involved, the burden on the fire department, the burden on the infrastructure. Those are concerns that should be addressed way before a yes or a no answer should happen. Thank you.
Okay, here's another name I'm going to torture. Anthony Jorgresso? Maybe I'd go with 5092 Timber Ridge Drive, 80107. Okay, moving on. Doug Bennett.
Good evening. I'm Doug Bennett, 35600 Private Road 73. My biggest concern is also fire. It's in a heavy wooded area. We've had a few years of drought. The pine trees out there are tinder dry. We're losing lots and lots of trees. I mean, that's not anybody's fault but Mother Nature, but you start putting power lines and stuff like that, it's just a recipe for disaster. I sure hope you guys take some common sense and deny this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Shannon Rose.
Hi, my name is Shannon Rose. I live at 34693 Forest Park Drive in Elizabeth. For the record, I am adamantly opposed to these power lines running through this great county as proposed. I hope you deny this project. However, power is a necessary evil, a given in the modern life. Therefore, my concern is regarding the use of aerial lines versus buried cables. From all that I've read, the total cost of ownership is less in the long run, especially when factoring in potential liability should a fire erupt from the downlines. I oppose the short-sighted approach to minimize initial implementation costs at the sacrifice of safety and quality of life for those who live here, especially when there is a better option available. Why not offer a compromise that shows respect for the residents of Elbert County and our values? We cherish our rural landscapes, our grand vistas, our rolling hills, not to mention our deep concerns for fire safety and fire risk mitigation. Prevention is far better than any fire mitigation or fire response narrative. If you want to convince us to support something that serves us no direct benefit but creates distinct risk and impact to our way of life, the least you can do is require them to bury the lines to alleviate some of the risks, the strains, and the blight this project is bringing to our great county. Please, bury the lines. Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon. Kelly Brenda.
My name is Brenda Kelly. I live at 26501 Flowers Circle, Simla, Colorado. Excel's been arrogant from the very beginning. Today they bragged about all their many, many meetings, and I've been to a lot of them. And they said they were there to hear us. But what I realized after going to a few was they weren't there to hear us, or their definition of hear us just meant they were listening, not that they were going to address our concerns and come up with solutions to them, because they'd already made up their mind. They knew what they wanted to do. At one of them, I was told that I had many options. I said, what are those? Basically, it was I could move. Another one, I asked about going east in a current corridor. No, they couldn't do that. That cost too much. Same answer about burying lines. No, it costs too much. So it's all about the dollar for them. It's all about what, they're not out for our interests at all. They're out for their own interests. As Carrie said, Excel is just here to check a box. And they're so confident that they can walk all over Elbert County residents that they haven't even addressed all the 1041 regs, as pointed out by the staff. But even if they had addressed all of the conditions in the regs, that doesn't mean it's the best for Elbert County. Your job as the planning commissioner is to do what is best for us, not what's best for Excel, not what's best for the PUC, not what's best for Denver. Elbert County residents give up a lot to live out here, stuff that Denver people won't give up. It's not easy living out in a rural life, but we do it because of the benefits that this project are going to take away from us. They've already been stated. The vistas, the views, the grasslands, the animals. That's what we endure. Melted ice cream because we can't get it home in time. And did you notice that the power lines that they showed didn't show any in front of the views of Pikes Peak that we all have? And they will block or be in front of? Please don't sell out Elbert County for the promise of money. Some things just can't be bought.
Thank you. Susie Dodge.
Good evening. My name is Susie Dodge, 18560 Wiedemeyer Road, Kiowa. I would like to say I oppose Xcel Energy's route for their power pathway for many, many reasons. One of them being the drastic decrease in property values that will occur if these high voltage transmission towers are approved. A review of the literature clearly reveals significant loss in property value once high voltage power lines are present. Studies show a range of decrease between 25 and 75%, with the most showing a loss of about 45%. In addition, it was reported that many buyers refuse to even look at such properties, and it can take up to 6 times longer to sell properties with adjoining transmission line easements. When these properties finally sell at a 45% loss in value, their sale price will be the comp values used for other county properties for sale, decreasing their property value even if they are not near the power lines. A decrease in property valuation leads to a decrease in property tax revenue, which will strain our already overburdened and underfunded services. This will affect all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Jarl McKinney. Hope I did that justice.
My name is Gerald McKinney, 16501 Highway 86. And I want to thank you for this forum to be able to speak, first of all, and to be able to see the presentation. I want to speak to what I've seen since I've been here. My wife and I's idea of a perfect place to work to retirement and work hard for a piece of land, a piece of property that we really wanted to enjoy and actually share with our kids and our 8 grandkids so that they could build on that is being impacted by this. And also my neighbors across the street may be impacted to such a degree that they really can't talk about it right now, and it scares me, and I feel really heart pain for what they've had to go through over this time. I'm across the street from it with my land, and they are directly impacted in more than just a way that is going to be right away. So with that being said, speaking to what I've seen, we used to go to a little restaurant in Elizabeth and then drive home and go over Wiedemeyer and drop down the hill and be so proud of what we get to see, and we still are. And when we do that, when we were doing that, when we first bought the place in 2011, there weren't many red lights out there. And then we would be surprised. Those red lights would be lit up over a number of years. And I go, did you see that section? When did that section over there actually have those hundreds of red lights? And then we would come home and there'll be another section of hundreds of red lights right out there in the distance. And so I have a question, and I'm hoping that we look into this because I don't know, and it may be my fault for not checking. But 345 kilovolts, I'm wondering if that's leaving Simla at capacity, or is it something that they can add to so that there are more red lights that are brought in closer to us and possibly even red lights with windmills on Windermere Hill. I don't know, but that is a concern for me as that stuff starts to build out and gets closer to us. You know, it feels a little bit like Elizabeth is getting such uncontrolled growth moving our way, and now it's coming from the Eastern Plains, and who would have thought of that, honestly? So I am concerned if the capacity, or if they're building in for more capacity, or they have that capability to do that. And I'm concerned that people may run and find just another place to live based on leasing, renting their land for that capacity and get a check in the mail.
3 minutes.
And those of us that are looking at a future here, have sent our kids to school here, our grandkids are growing up here, if this is something that we're going to be stuck with that gets worse. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Joe. Henry J. Smith.
Hi, my name's Henry Smith. I live at 25411 County Road 105, north of Rama. My family's been in Elbert County since 1866. There's been a lot of changes. I want to thank you guys for the work that you do, and I don't envy you for the decisions that you have to make right now. On one of their slides, they showed the frequency of fires per section. I have to question the accuracy of that slide. It showed none on my land, and I've had over 8+ fires over the years, which makes me wonder then how many other slides we could not totally trust. And then they want to proceed with so many regulations not yet addressed. The third thing I want to talk about is the visibility of the towers. They've elected to go down a ridge on my land, the highest ridge in the area, for 3 miles, making them quite visible. They were presented with another possible route that would make them much less visible, which I thought they were going to do. But then when they presented the final route to you guys, it was the one that they wanted originally, which made me feel that regardless of what I said or what we did, they're going to do what they want to do. The other thing is I want to ask them, to have them bury the lines. Mountain View just come through and buried all of their power lines on our ranch. So, thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Trent Chapel.
Trent Chapel, 30680 Mountain View Trail, Kiowa. I want to talk about some of the discrepancies that we got during our slideshow. An acre is 8 feet by a mile. With 40-odd miles, we're going to burn up 1,000 acres, not 360. Second thing is, I want to bring up is the fire. We have this big section here of white that God only knows how long it's going to take our fire department to get there. Well, that's a problem. We've also got, they're telling us they're going to do this and they're meeting all of our standards, but they're not giving us any of the information they're supposed to. You guys have the power and the ability to say, bury the lines. If you want to come through Elbert County, bury the lines, period. That's what I got to say.
Thank you. Pamela Chapel. Thanks, Pam. Kathy Davis.
Kathy Davis, 2488 Palomino Trail, Elizabeth. Many of the concerns I had have already been addressed, but 2 of them were not. One is the thing of eminent domain that can talk about condemnation, as someone else has already spoken about. And when my research showed that they have to have a, or blight, either one, they have to show that there was a consultant's report on that. And I want to know if you've gotten that. Because if they don't have a consultant's report, you have to deny it. The other thing that I didn't see addressed in either, I could have missed it, was in the research that I did on the health hazards to people and to animals because of the high voltage lines with ELFs and EMFs. And I had looked at several different things. One was published in 2019. That was the most recent and the largest one that I could see with the impact. These studies were done in February of 2014 and December of 2016. And they looked at the way these power lines were going through communities, and particularly near school areas, which these do. There was a significant, large impact on childbearing women. 53% were infertile as a result. And it was directly because of the EMFs and the ELFs.
There was a higher risk, although not quite as significant, in childhood leukemia and brain tumors in these children. And they go right through these school districts, and I did not see that addressed at all. This was published in the International Journal of Environmental Medical, and that was January of 2019. Their conclusion was, if I could quote, current safety guidelines for EMF exposure seems to be not adequate for protecting people from the hazardous effects of the field, end quote. I've also heard rumors, I couldn't find anything online, so I apologize, at the negative impact on animals, and we have a lot of cattle in this area. We also have our little dogs. And this is a huge ranching area, and I don't want to see that go away. I don't think the answer to beef is making it out of plants in some kind of manufacturing thing. Grass-fed cattle is still good. My family's background is ranching and farming on both sides of my parents' family. In fact, my family still owns a commercial dairy farm northeast of Denver around the Bennett area. And so when you start getting all these things, the impact, I take that a little personally. I do. I thank you, Planning Committee. Again, I don't envy you either. I will pray for you in this decision, and I do pray that you will deny this, because what I'm seeing and hearing from Xcel Energy is a lot of deception. Thank you.
Thank you. I skipped one. Beverly Durant, are you still here? Yeah, no jogging, please.
Sorry. My name is Beverly Durant. I live at 40968 Kiowa Bennett Road. First of all, I want to thank CDS for all the hard work that they did on this application. It's a lot to look at, and it's a lot for you all to look at. And I also think Xcel has not satisfied the requirements for the SUR or the 1041. They had other routes that they could do. Every community meeting, they just told us, nope, this is what we're going to do. We don't care what you say. We don't care what you think. This is what we're going to do. So they chose the route that affected the most people in Elbert County. I'm not going to go through all the different things that everybody else has done. Fire is a huge concern here. And I want you all to look at that fire rate of speed graphic. Any fire from this is going to wipe out Elbert County. Also, it's going to destroy the beauty of our county. It's going to destroy why most of us live here. It's going to put an undue burden on our infrastructure, roads, and services. There's going to be traffic congestion and a burden on our existing systems. Air, odor, water, noise, light pollution. They didn't even want to address any of those. It is detrimental to the health and safety of our county, not only residents today, but in the future. I am also the president of the Kiowa School Board. We are very concerned about this. Traffic is going to really impact our pickup and drop off of our kids and the kids that go across 86 to come to school every day. Somebody's going to get hurt. As well as the fire danger. Where are we supposed to take our kids if a fire goes through here? And the health and safety not only of our students, but also of our staff. Xcel is taking away property rights. I, too, at these community meetings have heard them say, we don't care. We're going to do what we have to do to come through Elbert County. That's not right. They shouldn't be able to do that. This does not benefit Elbert County at all. It's only going to benefit people in other areas of the state. I urge you to follow the CDS recommendation and deny both of these applications. Thank you.
Thank you. Leah Broughton? Okay, no worries. Thank you. John, on, looks like 18087 County Road 150. And
That would be me. My writing's not very good sometimes. John Mott, 18087 County Road 150, Kiowa. So, I've been to a lot of these things, and I should probably have facts, and then instead I'm just going to go on emotion. So I still think that we're going to look back on this and say the greatest hoax of the 21st century, the biggest scam has been this green energy crap. The wind turbines and everything. One thing about internet, you can pull stuff up. So the Colorado Public Utilities Commissioner recently said we're going to be slathering the eastern plains with wind and solar. I'm a part of a family ranch in Montana. And 4 years ago, you could see everything, and today there's 600-foot wind turbines there. The transmission line is being, they can say whatever they want, but it's being put in for one reason, and that's to hook in to more wind turbines and solar. That's what this is all about. Otherwise, they've been bringing it up on the current transmission lines, so it must be for new build out, and the new build out is going to be wind and solar. And the last thing I want to see is more wind turbines. There's just something about those things. I mean, I grew up on an isolated ranch, and when the turbines are something, that ability, for me, it's always been that ability to be able to just see in a distance. I've lived in big cities, and I always miss it when I'm back in the country and whatever. There's so much to this. The transmission line is just the first start of something that's just going to be bigger, badder, and uglier. And the other thing I really dislike about a lot of this, especially it seems to be in Colorado, I've lived in a number of other states, is the absolute, the politics in Colorado. We are going to sacrifice rural areas for the Front Range. It's been evident in everything that's being played out, the politics in this state, and this is another example of that. We're going to use Elbert County and the rural way of life to make sure that the people in Denver and Boulder who vote us in office all the time we have our vote for the next election. Anyway, I know I didn't use 3 minutes. That is amazing for me. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks. Sue Willard. Oh. Thank you. Thank you for your honesty. Debbie Mortensen.
Debbie Mortensen, 13510 Highway 86. I'm very concerned about the fire and items that have already been brought up. But one of the things that was just mentioned a little bit ago is I have a pacemaker. It was put in 1978, and the pacemakers have improved over the years. What has not is the wires. And I'm very, very concerned about the power from these wires that are coming through and stuff. My wires were put in 1995, and they are meant to last for 20 years. I'm now at 30. They cannot be taken out now because my heart has grown around them. If you go down to the towers that are on Quincy, the people down there, they say that they buzz all the time. Now, Excel says that they do not buzz. They're not any worse than a toaster. Well, that is not true. You just need to drive down the road, and you can hear the buzzing all the time. So I'm very, very concerned that Elbert County needs to do the correct thing and deny this. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Hartnecke? Okay, no worries. Thank you. Daryl Littlefield.
My name's Daryl Littlefield. I live at 27454 County Road 113 in Simla. And I'm coming in front of you guys on this board right now to try to educate you. In the United States, we have a Constitution. And in that Constitution, we as citizens of the United States are guaranteed something called fee simple ownership of real property. Are you all familiar with that? I see a bunch of stares here. No? If not, part of your job is to be familiar with our constitutional rights. Fee simple ownership, people who own property can negotiate their own price. Plain and simple, we're guaranteed that right. You need to study that. If you don't stop these negotiations, you can be held personally liable for everybody's loss in this room on their real property. Now, Excel feels that they have the right to use eminent domain, or they have the right to condemn property. They do not. They will never, as long as I'm alive. Constitution also says that people that have that power have to be an elected official, an elected public servant. Are any of you on this board public servants? Have you sworn to uphold the Constitution in writing? If not, you are not public servants. And you are aiding and abetting these people. Again, comes back to your personal liability. I've been in front of the county before, and I've made these type of statements. Look it up, Littlefield versus Vanberger. The county gave away my rights to fee simple ownership of property, and I fought to the Colorado Supreme Court to keep them. And I'll do it again. You've come after, you're letting these people come after my nest egg to provide for my wife and I's care when we get old, and they're taking big dents out of it. I am potentially losing pasture leases because the properties have gone up for sale for people protecting their financial investment in the properties.
3 minutes.
This has affected my wallet, all of you. And I will fight back. And I'm going to ask everybody on this board to stop it. And I'm going to ask you to educate yourselves on your own liability in something this large. Because your personal liability is not protected.
Please wrap, Mr. Littlefield.
I'm trying to educate you, sir.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm trying to protect you. Do you want me to stop?
Yes.
I will. Good. Protect yourself.
I will. Thank you. I apologize. Molly at 18952 Wiedemeyer Road. I'm not trying the last name.
I almost didn't put my last name. Molly Stuklik, 18952 Wiedemeyer Road. Pretty much everybody has touched the points that I wanted to touch, but I just wanted to thank everybody for coming and attending. And I would like the Planning Commission to deny, as Excel has not met the conditions as our county has laid them out. Also, to go along with the fire risk, I work in healthcare. I work with adults that are injured or healing or disabled, and to evacuate people quickly in this area is very difficult, not just for fires, but for any emergency. But we already have fire dangers with our current environment, and if we add power lines of this magnitude on top of that, that just increases the likelihood of hazards and dangers. So that was just one other thing I wanted to point out, was evacuation routes and getting livestock, people, elderly out and about. Also, denying this would help slow down or not open the gate to other forms of energy production that could also have a negative environmental impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry Nielsen, Baird.
Terry Nilsson Baird, 26753, County Road 89. It was about 20 years and 3 months since the last big planning commission meeting where we had somebody that wanted to come into the county and build a private toll road. And they were going to use eminent domain. That idea passed away when Mr. Wells did. But it seems like every 20 years we have to come by and do it again to remind everybody that truly this is the most scenic route to Denver, and we're talking about taking it away. I live on the eastern side of the Bijou Basin. I can see the Kiowa Water Tower from there. So I'm literally going to be looking at 25% of this project from almost every window in my house. I would like to be able to sell the house, recognizing I'm going to take a 10 to 12% minimum hit. I'm talking about $100,000. As a retired person at the moment, that's a lot of money for me to take. But that's minimal compared to the people who are already being condemned. I find that unconscionable. Without approval of a project to go in with the attorneys and threaten people with condemnation of their property is morally repugnant to me. Thank you.
So we may have a couple names here that are repeats. I know Gabby Weimers we've talked to already, or Weimers. Rick Orcutt? Awesome. Okay. Nick Bosco? Okay. I'm assuming that Jerica Bosco also spoke. It doesn't sound familiar, though. Okay. Richard Hildem? Cynthia Thai? Michelle Henderson? Looks like okay. Cynthia T. Sorry about that. That's all. Cynthia T., would you like to speak? Okay, so at this point, your name's not on the list. That's okay. Please come up and we'll have you speak as well. Again, name, address, all that fun stuff.
Lee Bronson, address 38905, Private Road 43, Kiowa. So I have a few questions. I moved out here 3 years ago, lived in Parker for 15 years, moved here from southern Idaho before that, and done a lot of worked for a roofing company, done tons of work out here over the years before I even moved out here, and just loved Elbert County. We were able to finally move out here 3 years ago, and got us a place. This power line is running right at the end of my property off of Kiowa Bennett, right? And so there's already a power line there. And so now, and I can see it from my, my house, things like that. Now there's going to be another monstrosity either taking its place or right next to it, or however that thing's going to work. But so it's just, how is this power line going to benefit me? How is it going to benefit the people? Because is it going to lower our prices, our utility prices, or is it going to raise them? I don't see it lowering. Nothing ever goes down. And so, and working with Excel, just kind of the things, this is the first meeting I've been to. My friend actually just said, hey, isn't that running through your place? It's like, yeah, so I hauled butt over here. But, so, I mean, I understand what their benefit is. They're a machine, okay? The machine's going to push a bulldozer. They're going to push and they're going to push to get what they want to benefit them. And as far as the little man's the ones that end up under the tracks. We don't get a say, eminent domain, condemnation, everything else. But, and it's kind of what everybody else says, elections, everything, I help elect you people, right? And you're elected to listen to your constituents, right? And I get everything. I do not envy you guys at all as well. And the decisions that you guys have to make on this is, but please listen to your constituents. We elected you guys to be there for us. And there's so much beauty out here that these power lines are going to destroy it. And that's the thing. Also, I just want to say, our governor doesn't give two craps about the little people out here, okay? If we get fed up, the reason I got my house is because the guy got fed up with Colorado and moved. So lucky me, I get the house. I'm very conservative. But they don't care that happens because that just, somebody moves out, another Californian moves in and destroys everything else. Sorry, the people from California, whatever, but anyway, you get my drift. Somebody's got to look out for the little man. I'm on 70 acres. I have cows. I have horses. I got kids, grandkids. This is my nest egg as well. This thing is running right at the end of my property, and it's affecting me as well, and my property value. And so just please listen and do the right thing. Vote this thing down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, Cynthia T. But if you'd like to speak, ma'am, you can please come up.
My name is Saskia Knapp, and my address is 11340 Copper Canyon Circle. Okay, and on Vanderbilt Air Force Base in California, the lines were uncovered and the cabling was inspected after 50 years. The high-capacity cable looked almost new. So imagine the unimaginable. Most recently, Colorado had a terrorist attack in Boulder. President Trump signed an executive order protecting the United States from safety threats and domestic terrorists. Only one terrorist with a Molotov cocktail shot at the high-capacity line when there was an EMF and high winds could set off a huge conflagration. It would spread down the line and go completely out of control in high winds. If fire begins during the day, Kiowa Schools is only 1 to 2 miles from the proposed power pathway. They have no bus evacuation. ability for all students. A fire in the middle of the night would be horrible. Pine Meadow is only 3 miles from the power pathway line. Forest Ridge, with its 300 years old Ponderosa Forest, is 5 miles away. Sun Valley is 5 miles away. The town of Elbert is the gateway to the Black Forest, is 7 miles away, with Elbert schools. Elizabeth and schools are 7 to 10 miles away. All these people will never be warned in time to get themselves, their pets, and livestock out on the narrow dirt roads. This power pathway is a disaster waiting to happen, but there is $600 million in the $2.3 billion contract, enough to bury the line, at least in the highest risk areas, as other states are doing. Burying the line saves money over time, but it also saves easement costs. Only 75 feet assessment easement
3
is
minutes.
needed to bury the line rather than 150 feet. According to
Saskia,
the...
please reach a conclusion.
Okay. Okay, bury the line. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Seeing none, I think we can close public comment. Applicant, you have about 45 minutes to respond to the citizens' comments.
Sure, I think we'd be happy to do that. Would it be okay if we take a quick break so we can pull together some materials?
Sure, let's read a clock that I can actually read. Hang on. Let's come back here at 10:25.
Thank you.
Will the applicant please present their case?
Yeah, just want to make sure, okay, the light
Yeah,
wasn't
just hang on just
here,
a second
so-
while we get the recorder going.
Thank
Folks,
you.
go ahead and please take your seats.
Taylor, do you know what order it's in? Run the slides when I'm talking. You just know what order it's in, I think, so. Mhm.
Applicant, if you're ready.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to address some of the questions and comments. Thanks everyone for your feedback on the project this evening. Before we move forward, we did want to clarify whether copies of the materials provided tonight that weren't previously made would be posted online or otherwise made available to everyone. The presentation that was playing in the background, for example, I don't think was in the staff packet, and some other materials. Will that all be made public record?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. We have a number of topics that I've tried to group together based on our notes, but certainly happy to address anything that you feel we may have missed. I think first I wanted to touch on the questions about why we elected to move forward with the hearings, even though it was mentioned that there were items that were not addressed. So Elbert County Code allows for an applicant to make that request to move forward if the applicant would like to, if there are still outstanding items. I can't speak to why Elbert County perhaps put that in the code, but in this instance, as mentioned by staff, we did go through a number of rounds of review of applications, responding to comments, and we felt that we had sufficiently addressed all of the asks and should move forward to hearing. It's understood that the county may feel differently about whether things were addressed or covered, but in order to move things forward and not be in that endless loop of we agree or disagree on what was provided, we elected to request the hearing so that we could bring that information to you all here in the Planning Commission, as well as the Board of County Commissioners. In addition, we were moving things forward in accordance with statutory timelines associated and set by the state of Colorado, in addition to Elbert County Code timelines. So we wanted to make sure that we were moving things forward in accordance with those statutory timelines so that the applications submitted to the county weren't under those statutes deemed approved. We wanted to bring those applications forward for a public hearing. The second topic that I'll touch on a little bit more is the routing. There were some comments made that we had planned to go in one place and changed our route. Wanted to clarify that that information in terms of being further east or in a different location, those routes were never identified as our proposed or preferred route, and understand that there could be confusion there given the lengthy routing process that was undertaken for Segment 5 here in Elbert County specifically. We did, as mentioned in the applicant presentation, conducted a routing study that was unique in Elbert County because of the iterations of the study area, the inclusion of thousands of square miles of additional review area, the addition, removal, and modification of routes based on public comment. The route that is presented in our applications, although we recognize may not be preferred by some, was put into the evaluation based on public comment. So we had public comment to place the route adjacent to existing infrastructure. As noted, county code suggests a preference for that. And so we looked at where that exists in Elbert County, and it was not constrained by other items around those existing infrastructure. So for example, we are adjacent to a core high voltage line. Although it's a different voltage, it is still a transmission line as we move from the Arapahoe County line south. We are then adjacent to a natural gas pipeline that exists. We are also then adjacent to County Road 86, as well as other county roads as we move south. In looking at route options to the east, which I think may be some preference that we were located to the east, we had a number of constraints that were technical issues, that were somewhat fatal flaws. For example, conservation easements that are very sizable that we were not able to route across. They expressly prohibited utility infrastructure. The location of existing businesses and homes along roadways where it was not feasible to fit the right-of-way. The existing infrastructure and the existing 345 line to the east that connects the Rush Creek Wind Project to our system also did not have sufficient space in many areas to meet the turbine setback requirements, concerns, operational and maintenance concerns about paralleling that line. Landowners who already have that line on their property that have conservation easements that have been placed around it since the construction of that line. And then in addition, the fact that the existing 345 line, when it leaves Elbert County and enters the adjacent county to the north, Arapahoe County, many folks have built, have subdivided and built homes adjacent and in proximity to that line, and we were not able to be adjacent to that. Generally, for transmission line right-of-ways, right-of-way is acquired for the line that you're building. It's sufficient to meet the clearance requirements and construct and operate the line safely. It would be very rare to find a transmission right-of-way that exists with additional space to construct a second line within it. So that's not typically a possibility. And it wasn't a possibility here. The existing right-of-ways for those transmission lines were insufficient to place another line within them. The same is also true of other infrastructure, linear infrastructure such as roads and other things. They're just placed in right-of-ways for their needs. We would also note that as we think about routes further to the east, that while there, again, may be a preference to that, if you look at the maps that the county staff provided in the staff report related to, for example, fire station response time and wildfire spread, those things are actually a worse condition further to the east. So as noted by one commenter, the white areas on the fire response map are more prevalent to the east than adjacent to the route proposed. As well, the fire spread map indicates that that would be a worse potential condition out east than where the proposed route is. The map on the screen is one that I had up during the initial presentation, so just wanted to provide that again here as we're talking about things like those constraints that resulted in the route location being where it is in our applications, to elaborate those kind of concentric curvilinear rectangles, I guess, I don't know what to call them geometrically, are the training areas associated with the U.S. Air Force Academy that we mentioned were of concern, and we were not able to route effectively through or around those. In addition, the National Natural Landmark located to the north was a constraint that we could not route through, and to the north of that is where the existing 345 line is. That has many homes that we technically couldn't fit between. Did want to mention that this is not the only 345 kilovolt line that exists in Elbert County today. Xcel Energy has about 73 miles of existing transmission in Elbert County that has been in the county and maintained and operated safely for the years that it's been installed. There was some discussion and question this evening about EMF and health effects. And so as we flip to that slide, it's a graphic that those who have visited our website or have attended public meetings may have seen before, that talks about magnetic fields and health and safety. There's a large amount of research out there. Certainly, Googling was mentioned a number of times this evening that suggest that there isn't a correlation between magnetic fields and health effects. That aside, the Public Utilities Commission here in Colorado sets reasonableness standards for magnetic fields. As part of our filing with the PUC, we're required to conduct a study and provide the results of both magnetic fields and noise in that study, and in the case of Pathway, the PUC considered the magnetic field levels that were resulting in that study reasonable. The graph or the graphic on the right-hand side here shows where that magnetic field level, as studied, would relate to other common household or business items. Any item that carries electricity would have magnetic fields, and so you see that in relation there on the graphic to a microwave in this case. And the graph on the right-hand side shows how the magnetic field levels are within the right-of-way. So in the center, you see the peak there, and then they are at background levels at the edge of the right-of-way. Noise was also mentioned, and similarly, the PUC sets permissible noise limits for our transmission lines, also substations, but we don't have a substation proposed in Elbert County. Same form of graphic in terms of what that limit or range is in this case that you can see, and where Pathway sits in there. And again, the PUC determined this reasonable. To talk a little bit about fire districts and our ongoing interactions and coordinations with them, I will let Andrew speak to some of that.
Perfect. Thank you, Jen. Just kind of wanted to touch on a few things in regards, because there was several comments in regards to the coordination and the collaboration and the adjacent agreements with the fire districts adjacent to the line. The first thing that I wanted just to address is one of the comments that we received is the lack of commentary or response about Tri-County Fire District. I did want to acknowledge that we've had numerous conversations with them, and we do have a signed agreement from Tri-County Fire District, and we're looking forward to continuing to collaborate with that district in particular. Additionally, when the slides were going through from the beginning from the staff, some of the higher fire danger risk areas were shown in an eastern pattern, and it's actually in Rattlesnake Fire District. We did not receive any comments from Rattlesnake's Fire District. Also, the map that was shown with those higher fire dangers was actually in Arapahoe County and does not come into here to Elbert County for the most part. Another adjacent thing that I just wanted to address is we've had a lot of ongoing collaboration with the Elbert County Emergency Manager. They have attended 2 different workshops that we've hosted in the Denver area. We look forward to continuing to collaborate with the Elbert County Emergency Management Office, and particularly we've had several meetings as recent of last week with both Kiowa and Big Sandy Fire Districts. We continue to work with those folks to secure an agreement and also to continue different opportunities for collaboration. We have an entire department here at Xcel Energy, not only through our emergency management team, but we also have public safety teams that do coordinated events to collaborate with these different fire districts and first responders to ensure that we have an adequate response plan. And we're happy to do that. I know that was one of the conversations that we had with the Kiowa Fire District here as of recent of last week. And we look forward to that partnership and that collaboration as we continue through this process.
Thank you, Andrew. As mentioned, with the fire districts, the 2 that are crossed by the pathway line that have not signed their forms, we cannot compel them to do so. We cannot require them to do so. It's my understanding that one of them responded, and I believe it's in the referral comments, that they would sign the form after the permitting process is complete, for example. So they've indicated that they would sign the form, but are looking for the permitting process to be complete. There has been mention this evening about concerns regarding the school and the route crossing the school districts. Elbert County is divided up into multiple school districts. You can't avoid the school districts with routing. So we do understand, of course, the concerns for school safety. The school that is closest to the pathway route, we addressed questions, comments from staff in our application, in our response to comments on that, as well as in our referral comments. We don't anticipate there being impact to the school zones during construction. Our contractors, for example, are required to follow speed limits and posted signs. They are not above the law. They must follow the same laws that we all do. We don't anticipate road closures that would impact bus routes. For example, the bulk of our construction occurs within the right-of-way, not from the roadways. And so we don't see impacts to bus routes or school districts in that way. We understand there may be concern about evacuating school children in the case of a wildfire. However, I think based on information provided by one of the fire districts, we understand there were in the neighborhood of 30 wildfires in Elbert County last year alone. And so we certainly understand the concern, but the risk and perhaps the lack of resources exists today. And in that way, Pathway is not requiring additional services. The fire districts that the Pathway route crosses through serve those areas today, with or without Pathway present. For example, again, we are adjacent to the core line for a number of miles, the core transmission line, and that fire district agreed to serve the core line. And so us being adjacent doesn't increase the need for additional resources. The fire districts are there today. Again, we heard comment that perhaps the resources are limited in their capacity today, and that's something that I'm sure everyone is interested in trying to find resolution on. As Andrew mentioned, we do regularly coordinate with fire districts and emergency responders as a utility, but we also do that as part of our construction. Generally, our construction contractor, for example, will meet with county jurisdictional agencies, including emergency first responder, fire districts, and others that have an interest in meeting with us. We do provide online training for first responders, and we have indicated that we would also provide in-person training through our construction contractor as well in our referral responses. So we are very interested in continuing that collaboration and work on emergency response in general, and as well in working in and around high voltage transmission lines. Understanding again that perhaps the emergency responders in Elbert County may be familiar with that already, given the existence of a number of lines that cross the county today. Maybe the next topic to talk about would be wildfire. And I don't know if, Patrick, if you'd like to touch on our wildfire mitigation program and some of the comments about wildfire risk that we heard this evening.
Sure. As far as some of the comments related to introducing of wildfire risk based on the new transmission line, we will build, maintain, and operate the line with safety in mind. We have planned inspections on a regular cadence on the line. During construction and during any maintenance activities, we do have mitigation plans and procedures in place to minimize any sort of wildfire risk. Relation to comments around AI cameras, N5 sensors, we are looking into AI cameras in the area of Elbert County. We are exploring that possibility. N5 sensors are not something that we're currently deploying within our wildfire mitigation plan, so those would be not something we're considering at this time. As far as weather sensor or weather stations, we have current meteorological tools that we would utilize and continue to utilize throughout the state for looking at wildfire type conditions and wildfire meteorological conditions. To address some of the comments around undergrounding, I know that was a topic that's come up a few times. There are some technical, I would say, challenges around putting transmission lines underground, especially for the distance and through the pathway area. Additionally, when we talk undergrounding by Western utilities, we say PGE or we say Southern California Edison, that undergrounding is typically or is really primarily on distribution lines, not transmission lines. So a lot when we look at that benchmarking, we look at that industry practice that is on distribution lines and not transmission lines.
Thank you, Patrick. And just to touch on underground a little bit more, we do have on screen some images of underground transmission lines being constructed or installed. In this instance, the top images are of underground transmission line installations. I think it's common for folks to think about undergrounding and what you may have seen, as Patrick was mentioning, for distribution lines, what would be a very small trench, perhaps something dug with a more common piece of equipment, a ditch witch or something, and cable laid in that trench. The construction for underground transmission lines is vastly different from that. It requires a number of conduits, which you can see in the upper left image there, that are arranged in a specific order in a very large trench, many feet deep and many feet wide. That trench is excavated, those conduits are placed in within the trench, and then that is backfilled with a thermal backfill material, kind of like a concrete type material with some then additional topsoil and vegetation replaced on that. We cannot grow trees in that area. We can't grow large vegetation. We have to maintain access to that. In addition, we have to place underground vaults for construction access and pulling that. 345 kV transmission lines being placed underground have a large number of technical feasibility issues that if folks want to learn more about, we can certainly have Parker come up and speak to if you all have questions. But in addition, underground transmission lines require transition structures or stations, which are the bottom images that you see here. In this case, maybe a more typical 345 transition station is the bottom left image, which is required to take overhead transmission and place it underground. It doesn't simply just disappear. We have to make that transition with a series of equipment that you see at either end. In addition, there's information provided in our application in response to comments addressing the why not underground, in addition to the environmental impacts associated with placing the lines underground, the ongoing maintenance, the lifespan, the PUC in our CPCN, in response to our CPCN filing and in the written decision, addressed undergrounding as not being a prudent use of ratepayer dollars and not appropriate for the project. So our regulatory body indicated that placing the line underground would not be something that they would support. In those instances, when that is the case, even if it were technically determined to be technically feasible, the cost not being something that could be passed on to ratepayers would then have to be borne by the requesting body. And so the delta between the overhead installation and that underground installation would have to be borne by a jurisdiction requesting or requiring that underground. Sometimes we see a request from a developer to move a line around, and in those cases that's borne by a developer, for example. So the why not underground is something we wanted to clarify, that we have technical feasibility concerns about whether that could even be done for a large length of line, such as 40 miles or 48 miles in Elbert County. And then in addition, it would have increased environmental concerns and additional visual issues related to those transition stations. I think last issue that I've captured without flipping through all of my pages of notes would just be to touch on eminent domain. Certainly understand that folks have questions and concerns about how that works. And so, in terms of working with landowners, we announced the preferred route in late 2022 and have been working to secure our land rights in the area since early 2023. It is only after lengthy discussions and negotiations, and if we're not able to reach voluntary agreement, that we utilize that tool. That really is under the jurisdiction of the district courts to determine that, and so wanted to just touch on that briefly. I think, unless I'm seeing from the team any other topics, happy to take any questions you may have for us, or if you need information on topics that I may have missed.
You sure you don't want to flip through your notes one last time just to make sure?
I'm happy to spend the time to flip through if we have it available.
Well, we have about 7 minutes before we hit our mandated time to retire for the evening.
Parker?
Notes here that I wanted to touch on. There's a misconception that this line is primarily being built for additional wind and solar resources. One of the topics that I kind of hit on early in the presentation is the overall grid reliability that this project is going to bring for the overall electric system here in the state of Colorado. Being able to interconnect into a coal-fired unit up in Brush, Colorado, which is our Pawnee generating station. This interconnects into our other coal-fired generation station in Pueblo at our Comanche station. It has an interconnection into Harvest Mile, which is in Arapahoe and Aurora, which does help bring overall grid stability. This is one of the largest transmission projects that the state of Colorado has seen. This is going to bring grid reliability from a large scale that's going to benefit all Coloradoans, not only Xcel Energy customers, but the electric grid overall here in the state. And we're looking forward to continuing to partner with that. But I just wanted to make sure that we address that this is not the primary reason for building the Colorado Pathways project. That is a benefit that we have the opportunity to bring generation onto this plant or onto this pathway project. There was a comment in regards to nuclear facilities and other generation. We have an energy resource plan currently being considered with the Public Utilities Commission right now. It's called the Just Transition Solicitation. It is a new request to bring in more generation assets to keep up with the low growth that we are seeing here in the state of Colorado. The model, as we consider it, which is going to accept a number of different resources that are going to get bid into the Just Transition Solicitation, and one of those does contemplate nuclear. Xcel Energy does own and operate a nuclear facility up in Minnesota. We previously had one here in the state of Colorado at Fort St. Vrain back in the mid-90s as well, which has now been transitioned to a natural gas unit. So the overall grid is going to be, the reliability in the overall state electric grid is going to be improved vastly from the Colorado Pathways project. So I wanted to make sure we address that as well.
Thanks. Again, in terms of local benefit, I did just want to highlight here a number of things. So although Xcel Energy does not serve distribution customers in Elbert County, we do provide transmission service to other utilities that do serve Elbert County. And so in that way, to Andrew's point about the grid, the more reliable grid benefits those that take service from that grid, which includes those that may purchase transmission service from Xcel Energy. The Colorado State Legislature has a position in CRS that all residents benefit from electrical infrastructure, including a reliable supply of electricity being vital to importance to the health, safety, and welfare of people in Colorado. Given the electric power is transmitted by means of that interconnected grid that Andrew mentioned, we all benefit from that power, and that it's critical that public utilities such as Xcel supply electric to meet the demand for service as growth continues to occur statewide. Certainly, Andrew mentioned, and I would like to reiterate again, Elbert County has in the code a requirement for an impact fee. We've estimated that impact fee based on the cost of the project in Elbert County to be around $2.5 million. That would be due to Elbert County understanding and hearing that there are concerns about needs in the county and maybe resources that the county could benefit from. I would imagine that receipt of that impact fee could help address some of those resource needs and acquiring things that may be needed in the county. In addition, as it relates to the ongoing concerns about wildfire risk, I think the impact fee could be made available if the county elected to do so, to create a community wildfire plan. Xcel Energy regularly participates in those as it relates to infrastructure that we may have in the county, to benefit the county as a whole.
Okay, you are starting to repeat yourself, just so you know.
Okay. And then I think the last item was to remind again of the tax benefits that Andrew mentioned that we currently do pay to Elbert County, even though we're not a distribution service provider. And that is all I have.
Thank you. We have 2 minutes left in our allotted time. I know we're not going to get a lot done in that 2 minutes, but we do have a couple of things to think about as we go through this. The first of which is I have probably 4 pages worth of questions I want to ask, and I'm probably not the only one that has a fairly long laundry list of questions. So the open question becomes, we can proceed down the path of asking all of our questions, doing our due diligence under the covers, or we can simply vote on the idea that staff has presented us with the motion to deny or suggestion to deny based on information that's lacking and an incomplete application. So I'll ask the board directly, since we're now in a board-only conversation. Do we want to ask our questions, or do we want to just push forward with the vote?
I turned my mic on. I have a lot of questions. I understand what you're saying about the vote, but based on past experience of how this board has voted and
We're a planning commission.
boards have voted, I think if there's people on the board that have a lot more questions that may bolster how they plan to vote when that goes as a recommendation to the BOCC, that would be my preference.
Understood. Do we all feel that way?
I would just add that I think part of our role is to provide analysis and to flush things out for the BOCC. And I think that the best way we can do that is by presenting our questions, getting answers, and allowing the BOCC to benefit from that knowledge.
Kyle, Dan? Okay.
I'm on the same page as the other two commissioners that just spoke.
John, Van, Dee Dee? It sounds like we're going to come back tomorrow and continue this conversation with our series of questions. So with that, what's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Agreement
So
with, Nicole and
what I would like to do is vote to continue this to tomorrow. Is it possible that we can meet at 6 p.m.? Anybody cannot make 6 p.m.?
Me, I can't make it.
Okay.
But you can start and I'll be here at 7.
Well, I'm sure you'll get your opportunity to ask questions.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a problem. Just be aware I'll be here till 7.
Microphone.
Yeah. But John says he won't be able to make it till 7, but go ahead and start without him. He'll ask his questions when he gets here at 7. Applicant, can you be here at 6 p.m.?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. CDS? Planning?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So I vote to, or entertain a motion to continue this till tomorrow at 6 p.m., June 4th.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Last motion. Can we retire for the evening? Would you?
Make the motion to adjourn for the evening.
All in favor? Aye. Let's go home.